Hello guys, how are you all? Welcome back to my channel. So, today we are gonna see, what if Mount Lady had a crush on Deku the moment she saw him, Harem, part 4. So before we start, go check out the author of this fanfic Thickbo, link is in the description, also subscribe to our channel, and like this video, so let's begin the video. One day remaining for the entrance exam and Izuku had decided to pay a visit to the orphanage as he had promised as a good omen for the exam. Maybe the smile of children would ease his nervousness. But before he went there, he needed something very important. What would the kids like? First impressions were important and he wanted to get along with them. That was the reason why he was now in a component store trying to figure out what to buy. Sweets. Nah, not every kid likes them. What else is there? Fruits, but which ones? This task was proving to be more troublesome than he thought. In his struggle to find the right answer, the catboy heard a grunt coming from a person also struggling with their task. Turning his head to the side, he came across a woman a little shorter than him. She was wearing a white dress shirt with a plain grayish peach-colored cardigan along with blue jeans, though what stood out the most was her shoulder-length hair. It was snow white, flecked with a few traces of crimson-like color. Did she try to dye her hair and failed in the process? If that was the case, then her task had failed successfully because it looked good on her. The woman was currently struggling with her height because she couldn't reach what was on top of the shelf. Izuku covered his mouth, suppressing a chuckle. It was a little funny and endearing seeing her try so hard when she wasn't even close. As a last resort, she began to jump with a pout on her face, making it difficult to hold his chuckle inside. She was stubborn, he'd give her that. Okay, maybe that's enough. I should offer her a hand. Izuku managed to control himself and think straight. He approached her. Excuse me, do you need help? Yes please, I can't reach the canned peaches. The woman smiled at him as if he was a lifesaver. But the swift movement of the wind and the softness of a feather, Izuku jumped, grabbed the can and landed on his original position as nothing had happened. Here. He said, offering her the peaches with a smile. Wooah, that was incredible. The woman held her mouth open in awe. Thank you so much. She bowed after accepting the food and put it in her basket. Wait. You're that Wonder Cat boy, right? My brother talked about you last time. Eh? A blush appeared on his face. Izuku was still not used to being recognized so easily. I guess that's me. I'm not used to talking to everyone. I haven't done anything that impressive. I think I know how it feels. People get surprised when I tell them who my father is. She smiled. She also noticed how the boy sniffed the air for a bit. Hey, is there something wrong? Do I smell bad? She went into panic mode as she sniffed her forearms. No. It's just that you smell a little familiar. I guess that sounds weird, doesn't it? The catboy rubbed the back of his head, awkwardly. Familiar like what? The white-haired woman tilted her head in curiosity with a smile on her face. Like two people I met before. One was named Natsuo, he had white hair like you. Well, without the red spots. The other person was a guy of the same age. Half of his hair was white like you and the other crimson red. I don't know his name though, but they both smell a little like you. He explained. That still sounds weird. NM. The woman shook her head. We smell the same because those two are my little brothers. Natsuo and Shoto. She smiled again. Yes, it was weird that this boy said something like that, but she was actually glad that they smell the same. I meant they were really family. That caught him off guard. Wait, so when you said that your brother talked about me, you meant he trailed off? Yes, it was Natsuo. He told me he met you at a beach. He sounded happy. The woman said. Oh. By the way, I'm Fumi Todoroki, nice to meet you. Izuku Midoriya, nice to meet you too. He introduced himself. And I guess the world is a small place, huh? You can say that again. They both laughed. Excuse me, it may be intrusive of me, but I want to ask something, Todoroki-san. Izuku spoke nervously. Oh, well, ask and I'll see if I can answer it or not. And called me Fumi. You probably referred to Natsuo with the Todoroki-san. It would be weird, right? Right then, Fumi-san, who is your father? He finally asked. Oh, for a second I thought you would ask for something perverted, like my cup size or something like that. There are guys out there that think they deserve something like that after helping with something after all. She noticed the weird look the catboy was giving her. Cough, I guess I'm the weird one right now, Fumi muttered a little flustered. Well, to answer your question, my father is Enji Todoroki, also known as the Flame Hero. Endeavor. Izuku smiled when he received the answer. So your father is Endeavor. In a quick motion he grabbed her shoulder as a panic expression appeared on his face. Say psych right now. Great, now Nico and Kami were sticking to him with their way of speaking. What? Fumi didn't even know what he said. Why the sudden change? Izuku let her go as he began to freak out. Oh god, what have I done? Is there something wrong with my father? She asked. Well, there were multiple things wrong with her father, but he didn't need to know. When I met your little brother Shoto, I asked him if he wanted to be like Endeavor because he looked like him. He explained. No wonder he got mad at me. Natsuo told me how much his little brother hated his father, and I went and told him if he wanted to be like him. I'm the worst. Izuku heard the person behind him spit her saliva. He turned around to find Fumi holding her mouth. What's wrong? Are you mad at me too? She couldn't control it anymore and began to laugh uncontrollably. Sorry, I just can't wheeze, that's such bad luck. Well, at least someone is laughing. Izuku thought. You're so screwed, Miko added herself. I'm so sorry for laughing, said Fumi. She was not. Was it the day of the exam? Yes, why? Izuku asked back. That explains why he was so mad when he got home that day. She informed him. Oh. Yeah, but don't worry too much, I think it helped him a little. In these 2 days, he has been trying to open up to me just a little, and I think it is because of that. So, thanks. She gave him a sweet smile. No, I'm just a stupid kid with some luck on his side, he said while scratching the back of his head. By the way, is there another sibling I should be wary about? He has met the 3 of them, so he joked about it. Ayumi's eyes widened as her smile faded. Her happy attitude changed to sadness, though she tried to fake it with a new smile. No, I don't have any more siblings. Izuku wasn't someone who could be fooled that easily. I'm truly a stupid kid. Just by her reaction, he got enough of an answer. So, something happened to one of her siblings. Or is he reading too much into it? Sorry, he said. I don't know why you are apologizing. The woman told him. They stood in silence. Thanks, she answered. I don't know why you are thanking me. The catboy looked at another place. What a way to kill the mood. Anyway, I should probably continue with what I was doing. It was nice knowing you, Fumi-san. He nodded and walked away. Ah. Wait. The white-haired woman stopped him. I saw you struggling to pick something early, so maybe I can help you. As a thanks for helping me. She showed him the canned peaches. Izuku thought for a second, maybe getting a second opinion on his endeavor was a good idea. Yeah, I cannot decide for myself, you see, he explained his situation. Oh, that's so sweet. Visiting an orphanage. And well, I understand your struggle. I work as a teacher, so I interact with kids on a constant basis. The Todoroki girl smiled. The mood from before is already forgotten. She grabbed her chin, thinking about the information she got. Then how about a fruit salad? That way, the kids can tell you what they don't want. You could also add ice cream. 2 flavors should be enough. If someone doesn't want one, it can get the other. So, what do you think? Izuku was perplexed. That was more than what he was expecting. Whoa, Fumi-san is amazing, he said excitedly. You can prize me more. Fumi puffed her chest and put her hand on her hips. If she was proud of something, that was her understanding of kids. Then it is decided. A fruit salad it is. He could make it quick too. He has been practicing with his claws when it comes to preparing food with his mom. It's like having 10 knives, so peeling and cutting fruit should be a piece of cake. His cat ears twitched and moved in the direction of the door as the bell rang. He heard footsteps rushing in. His emerald eyes got sharp as his head snapped in that direction. He saw 2 men entering while having their heads covered. Anyone with little common sense should figure out why they were here, though apparently no one had noticed them due to being busy with their own errands. Izuku was the exception just because he could hear their hurried footsteps, thanks to his augmented senses. One of the men pulled out a gun and pointed to the cashier. Hand over the money and you won't get shot, he ordered. The other man also pulled out a gun. Everybody. Get down and don't move. Or else, I'll kill you, he yelled. All the customers laid on the floor out of fear. Luckily, Izuku and Fumi were at the back of the store, so they haven't been noticed yet. The Todoroki girl was going to scream in panic, however, a hand covered her mouth before she could do so. She looked at the catboy, surprised by his quick reaction, but he wasn't even looking at her. His demeanor has changed completely. His eyes, once friendly and warm, were now uninviting and cold. If she had to describe them, she would say they were the eyes of a lion looking at its prey. His body, that was relaxed and comfortable a few seconds before, was tense and ready for action, whether it was to take them down or jump in front of someone to take a bullet for them. It was scary to look at. It didn't feel natural. His eyes darted at her, and she froze in an instant under his gaze, quite ironic considering the family she came from. Izuku put his index finger over his mouth, a precise instruction to be quiet. Fumi nodded slowly, making him remove his hand. The catboy closed his eyes as a smile appeared on his face. Don't worry, I'm here. Just leave it to me. She thought she heard that, though his mouth never opened. Those words were transmitted through his smile. What she just saw was an illusion. Where did that cold and predatory creature go? He made a signal with his hand for her to get down. She did without a second thought, but he stood there. Izuku took his shoes off and then his socks revealed his hind legs. He passed her, going further into the store. What is he going to do? She screamed in her insides, worried about him. He was going to get himself killed. She wasn't the only person panicking. Among the people was a teenager whose most prominent feature was his orangey blonde hair, which has a black lightning-shaped streak on the left of his side fringe. Ah, man. Why does this have to happen to me? The blonde thought, cursing his bad luck. Should I zap them? No, 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 what am I thinking? I would electrocute everyone else too. Think, Dinky, think. Unfortunately, to think wasn't his forte. There was also another person having similar thoughts. This person was clad in a thick dark-colored parka that reached down below their knees. Their face was covered from view thanks to the shadow that created their fur-lined hood, though their eyes glowed through. TSK, this is absurd. I should just use the ice in this shop to freeze those two idiots. Then again I would expose myself. They were in quite a predicament. Ugh, why do I have to deal with this? I should be training my quirk. If it wasn't a direct order from Redestro I wouldn't be doing this stupid mission. Fuck it, I freeze everyone here and be done with it. Before that person did anything, the noise of glass breaking startled everyone there. It came from the back of the store. The two robbers looked at each other. And with a nod of their head, one of them went to investigate. Come on. We don't have all day. The other hurried the cashier. A minute later, not a single noise was heard from the back of the store. His partner was taking too long to investigate. The robber turned around just in time to see a shadow already over him with its fist ready to punch. In the blink of an eye, everything went black for the man. Although those two predatory emerald orbs will haunt him for quite some time. Everyone was watching in awe as the robber fell limp on the floor. Now in his position was a green-haired teenager with cat features. Excuse me. The cashier was brought out of his stupor by Izuku's words. Do you have rope or anything I can tie them with? He was still too serious about the situation because it wasn't over yet. The man still couldn't believe it. Thanks. And please call the police. He moved still without making a single sound. Moments later he returned with the other robber already tied up over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. The boy placed it on the floor and began to tie the other robber immediately. Phew. I guess that's all. Izuku swiped the sweat off his head. His attitude returned to normal. Not even a second after, everyone in the store began to cheer and raise their voice in happiness and excitement, startling the poor catboy. The first to approach him was a blonde with a lightning streak on his hair of the same age as him. Dude. That was awesome. To think I could see you in action. That was so cool. No wonder you're the new trend in social media. The overenthusiastic guy kept praising. Thanks. He still didn't know how to respond. More and more people began to get closer to him and more praises kept coming. In mere seconds Izuku's face went crimson in embarrassment. Fumi stood where she was, unable to move from her astonishment. Isn't he a pro hero already? She wasn't the only one staring at him from afar. The hooded person too was thinking about the catboy. So, this is that famous individual. Maybe I should talk about him and his potential. He would be a great asset for the Meta Liberation Army. Someone that wasn't a hero but already was loved by so many would be a great investment for the future of his organization. Dude, seriously, I don't think any of us could have done something like that. The blonde continued. Izuku didn't think the same. What he did was something pretty normal, someone who was quirkless but with good training could have done it, which meant they were thinking with their quirks. Maybe this society has grown too dependent on quirks. Of course, he wouldn't say that out loud, it could be taken as an insult for some people. A grunt caught everyone's attention. The two robbers had awoken faster than expected. They were still tied up though. Now is your opportunity, Nico said enthusiastically. Do it. Why? You gotta. Oh hey, you're finally awake. Izuku began to talk. You were trying to rob the store, right? Walked right into my ambush. Okay, I'm going to stop now. He let out a sigh. Nico had asked him to do this dialogue, but he couldn't take it any further. His eyes got sharp again. Now that you're awake. Apologize now. Everyone looked at him like he just grew a second head. Why would I do something like that? One of the robbers tried to intimidate him, being tied up and unable to move didn't help much in his task. The catboy got closer. I won't repeat myself again. He extended the claws on his feet, which were extremely close to their faces. Izuku knew perfectly well this isn't the attitude of a hero, but intimidation is a great weapon against uncooperative individuals. It wasn't a surprise for him that the two robbers began to shiver. We are sorry. With more enthusiasm. He pressed further. We are sorry. Like you really mean it. It wasn't enough. We are sorry for robbing here. Good. Izuku smiled, pleased with himself. Now, wait outside for the police to pick you up. He pointed at the door. And don't even try to run away, I'll be there in a minute. We're tied up. How are we going to move? One of them questioned. Did I stutter? When the catboy opened his eyes again, the look of wanting to tear their heart out returned. Without a single word, the two robbers moved like caterpillars to the door he held open. When Izuku closed the door and turned around, he was received with strange stares from everyone else. His cheeks flare in embarrassment. Please, act like you didn't see anything. He bowed from his waist. In fact, don't tell anyone you saw me here. If mom finds out, I will be grounded. And now he was doing it. The people there looked at each other for a second. Then they erupted in laughter. Seriously, he just knocked two people out, yet he is afraid of his mom? Hey, you can't underestimate the power of a mother. Now it was him who had a look of confusion on his face. Don't worry, man. Our lips are sealed. The blonde from before said with a grin on his face. The rest of the people nodded after him. Izuku let out a sigh in relief. Thanks. Minutes passed by until finally, Izuku left the shop with a bag full of different fruits. Fumi had told him about a good ice cream shop on his way. I'm glad to see you didn't try to escape. He smiled at the two robbers. There is no place we can run for. One talked back. I guess you're right. Sorry for treating you like that inside, but you needed a lesson. The catboy bowed a little, leaving the two criminals perplexed by his change of attitude. Whatever, we're going to prison anyway. One shrugged off, not buying it. Why? Because we commit a crime, idiot. That question made them mad. This kid seriously didn't know that. Even though he was the one who stopped them. Not that why did you do it? Now that made more sense. And why would we tell you that? It's not like you could understand us. You're right. Unless you tell me I won't understand, but a hero has to help everyone, right? His words shocked them for a moment. Heroes don't help criminals. One retorted. I want to believe that first and foremost, you're people, citizens. I want to believe that there is good in everyone. That like good people can become criminals, criminals can be reformed into good people, because change is the biggest quirk of humanity. Izuku finished with a smile. Sigh, if you go around like that in your life, you're up for a big disappointment, kiddo. The anger on their voice was gone and was replaced by pity. I already know that, sir. Izuku looked at the distance, his eyes lost in something. Anyway, I won't press further, I have other things to do. You probably are going to be in prison for some years. When you're out and if you have a change of heart, look for me, by that time I will be a pro hero and will help you out if you're in need. He began to walk away. Of course, I'm not that merciful, so if you still decided to be criminals. He stopped and looked over his shoulder, a cold stare on his green emeralds. I'll make sure you cannot commit a crime for the rest of your life, one way or another. Izuku continued his way. The two robbers were left there in silence. Hey, bro, should we try to escape now that he's gone? One asked the other. Nah, this was a foolish idea from the beginning. Let's just expect that kid didn't babble empty words. Let's face the consequences of our mistakes for once. He was really scary. One confessed. Yeah, I almost shit my pants, not doing this again. Fuck, I don't want to see that kid ever again. The other nodded wholeheartedly. Apparently, they recapacitate over their actions out of fear rather than kindness. Meanwhile with Izuku. That was so embarrassing. I don't know how to intimidate, so I tried to copy Kaken. Do you think it worked? His cheeks were pink from just the thought. Seeing how they obey you, I would say that it was a success, Nico answered. She couldn't help but chuckle at his expenses. Were you telling the truth when you said about making sure they couldn't commit a crime? Again, the implication of those words could mean anything. I wasn't lying, but he shook his head. Let's leave that for another time when I'm a pro hero. Amy Utsushimi was a few blocks away from the orphanage, and right now she was just scrolling down her phone while waiting for someone. She noticed a figure turning the corner, just the person she was waiting for. What up, Izu? She stopped mid-sentence when she saw the condition of the boy. He was not presentable, that's for sure. His clothes were a little torn and he was completely soaked. What happened to you, dude? She was a little worried, to say the least. Ah, Kimi-senpai. He immediately smiled when he saw her. Oh, this. Well, he avoided her gaze for a second, trying to find the correct words to explain. On my way here, I ran across a car accident, a grandma who had too many groceries for her to carry, and a puppy fell in a river. The look on Kami's face said everything. She was debating if believe him or not until finally, she let out an exasperated sigh. You know, coming from you, I'm not even surprised. But your luck, it's like, totally the worst, my guy. You can say that again. By the way, what are you doing here? If Izuku remembered correctly, he never told her he would come. It's not like he didn't want to, but he figured she would be busy. Oh, that. I was waiting for you. I came yesterday and the sister told me you will visit them today, so here I am. She explained. What? You don't want me to be here? The young woman looked hurt at the thought. No, no, no. I didn't mean it like that. Izuku immediately panicked at that. The girl laughed at his reaction. I'm just teasing you. BTW, what are you carrying? She pointed at the backs. Oh, fruits and ice cream. I'm going to make a fruit salad for the kid, you can have some if you want. That totes lit, dude. In a swift movement, she hooked her right arm with Izuku's left. I don't think I can walk too well like this, Kami-senpai. His face went red when he felt her bosom on his arm. You can always try, the orphanage is close too. She just got closer. Okay, calm down, Izuku. If you survive midnight you can endure this. He tried to think about another subject while they began to walk. Oh, yeah. A friend of mine told me he's going to apply to Shiketsu. Please take care of him, his name is Inasa Yurashi. You say it like he's totally gonna pass. We're no UA, but the exam is not that easy either. No, he's going to pass. He's someone amazing after all. Izuku smiled, remembering the hyperactive guy. I would prefer that you were the one applying though. She said with a mischievous smile, squishing his arm even more. Focus. He acted like this on their first date, so he should already know and not fall for it, yet, it was really hard. If I don't pass to UA then Shiketsu will be my second option. Oh, RIGHT, the exam is tomorrow. Good luck, though you really don't need it. Even though she would like to have him in her high school, she wouldn't wish him bad luck for it. Thanks, I'll do my best. Finally, they arrived at the orphanage. Hold up. Kami stopped abruptly. Your luck sucks, so I'm totally serious. Good luck. Izuku couldn't help but get more nervous. At last, the day of the exam has come, and of course, Izuku was already there, walking through the entrance. Though one thing that not many people knew about today was that the entrance exam for the support course was also today, which meant, why did you have to bring so many babies? Izuku yelled in exasperation as he carried a mountain of inventions made by the pink head. He couldn't even see where he was going. Because it will increase my chances of getting in, of course, Mei said, not paying any mind to his irritated attitude. Out of my way, Deck. The distinctive voice of Katsuki Bakugo came from behind, but he stopped when he saw all the crap that Izuku was carrying. Never mind, just don't get in my way, fucking nerd. He said as he passed them. Who was that? Mei asked. Katsuki Bakugo. I already told you about him. The catboy responded. Doesn't ring any bells. She said with a carefree grin, she's not going to bother to remember him. Yo, Midoriya, what the hell are you carrying? The surprised voice of Kirishima caught their attention. Oh, hey Kirishima-kun. These are support items. The greenhead answered. The fact that he didn't look bothered by that weight was impressive to the retreat. Wait, weren't you going to go to the hero course? Ijiro asked again, slightly worried. These are not mine. He signaled to the pink-haired girl with his tail. Kirishima-kun, Mei Hatsum. Mei, Ijiro Kirishima. Yo. Kirishima beamed at her. Any friend of Midoriya is a friend of mine. Nice to meet you. If you need any support items, just come to see me. Mei, as always, went right into business. I can make really cool babies just for you. The babies? Ijiro's cheeks got a little red by misinterpreting her words. She calls her inventions babies. Oh, right. The red boy scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. Then I'm going to go ahead. Don't be late, Midoriya. See you later, Hatsum. He accelerated his pace. Hey. Izuku stopped him for a moment. Did you get it? He asked, something that no one else should know. Yeah. It was weird though and I haven't used it yet. Ijiro answered. So, one for all has finally succeeded. They smiled at each other and nodded. Cool guy, Mei said as she saw the retreat enter the building. What was his name again? Oh my god. Ijiro Kirishima. I said it a minute ago. Why is it so hard for you to learn names? He asked, genuinely curious. Meh, it fills memories I could use for more babies. She answered uninterestedly in the subject, as if it was something obvious. Izuku gave her a worried look regarding her priorities. What's my full name? He asked. Izuku Midoriya. It didn't take her a second to respond. Why am I different from the rest? You're special. We work together. She answered with a smile. You're the father of my babies, after all. And the bomb was dropped. Every student at ear's reach stopped and looked at them in shock. Izuku's face exploded in a blush. She's talking about the inventions. He tried to clarify, but it was already too late, of course, his stuttering helped even less. Damn it, why does she have to be like this, he cried on the inside. Speaking of babies, Mei talked again as her gaze went up to the head of the catboy. There it was, the most recent baby. It was a cover for his ears which helped with the sensibility of high volumes, without deterring his capabilities to move or hear low or high frequencies. It was a request from Izuku to be capable of resisting present Nick or the explosions of Katsuki. We haven't tested it yet. She looked at it contemplative while caressing her chin like she was some kind of sage. May, no. We're not going to do it here. Izuku panicked, knowing where this was going. Come on, it's not going to take much time, she said, approaching him predatorily. The guild finally grabbed him, cutting his escape and moving closer to his ears. May. I swear to God. If you scream in my ears right now, I'm going to. The extra weight of May puts him off balance. In panic, he did something that would be considered crazy for everyone else. He threw all the babies he was carrying to the air before he truly began to fall. Yet, he never touched the ground. His brain moved as fast as it could to find the logic in this. I'm not moving. Before I fell, I felt a hand touching my head. It's like gravity stopped for me, which means someone else's quirk. He came to a conclusion. Release me, he demanded. I. So sorry. Release. The panicked voice of a girl came from his back. Gravity returned to him a second after, but he didn't have time to be glad he got the question right. He rushed ahead and jumped as high as he could towards all the babies that were in the air. Quickly, he grabbed all of them and landed safely. However, it wasn't over yet. There's baby 77, 85, 46. Izuku began to count them quickly. Wait, where is baby 124? He looked up just to see a pair of goggles falling from the sky. His hands were completely full. In a quick movement, his tail shot forward, grabbing the missing baby just in time. Midoriya let out a sigh he didn't know he was holding. Saw safe, it was terrifying. A second later, a frown appeared on his face as he turned his face. May. The crazy inventor was going to receive what she deserved. However, to his surprise, the pink head was missing. In her place was another girl who looked like she was waiting for orders in a stiff position. The girl in question had a brown bob-cut hair, large and round eyes of the same color of her hair, and a perpetual blush on her cheeks. Where did she go? He asked. Do you mean the girl with pink hair with dreadlocks? The brown-haired girl asked back. The catboy nodded. She went ahead, she said that you know where the babies are. Go. She blushed a little with those last words. He turned his head towards the building, even more pissed. I know where you live, May. You cannot escape from me. He yelled, hoping she got the message. Izuku let out a sigh, finally calming down. He looked at the new girl again. Thanks for helping me, and sorry for yelling at you to release me. He put a friendly smile on his face, which eased the girl immediately. No, don't worry, I just acted without thinking, she said with a smile of her own. I think that falling just before the exam would have been a bad omen. Such a nice girl. May should learn a thing or two from her. The catboy thought. Thanks again. We should hurry if we don't want to be late. The girl nodded wholeheartedly. After leaving the babies where they should, Izuku was now roaming the halls of UA looking for his assigned classroom to take the written exam, and after that, he and everyone else have to go to an auditorium where they will receive the instructions for the practical test. He had an uneasy feeling in his guts, telling him that something wasn't right. After all, he was the only one on this side of the building. The catboy finally arrived at his classroom, but there was nobody around. They didn't make a mistake with me, right? He asked himself. Well, there is only one way to find out. He began to open the door. Something smells nice though, he commented. Oh, you're finally here. A feminine voice came from the classroom that sent a chill through his spine. His eyes widened in horror as he saw the person sitting over the teacher's desk. Midnight, he yelled in panic. Hey, how's it going, Izuku? The pro-heroine greeted him with a mischievous smile. What are you doing here? He needed answers. Oh? Didn't I tell you? I'm a teacher here in the UAA. Smug smile appeared on her face. He was trembling now. If he passed the exam, he was going to be in great danger. Don't just stay there. Come in to take the exam, Namuri told him. He did as she said, just to freeze in place a second after. Why is there only one chair? His eyes weren't deceiving him, right? There was only one chair in that classroom. You're the only one taking the exam in this classroom, she answered, enjoying every second of his reactions. Why? He asked again. Well, the written test is the same as the recommendation exam, so Nezu decided to make a new one just for you. So, we decided to place you in a different location to not create any confusion. Amy was right. His luck sucked to the point that he wouldn't be surprised he slipped on a banana peel in the next hours. Was this because he was a black cat? No, that was too crazy even for him. It should be obvious by now, but I'm the teacher assigned to supervise you. He didn't like the connotation of the word supervised at all. All sweating buckets, he sat down. The 18+ only heroine handed him the test. The catboy calmed himself down and began to read the test. It was definitely different and, if he dared to say, more difficult. For some reason, he could swear he could hear the maniacal laughter of the principal inside his head. He froze again when he felt two round and soft bumps on his back. It was midnight and he didn't need to be a genius to know what those two soft bumps were. What are you doing? His face was already red. Well, I'm supervising you, of course. I will pay very close attention to you to make sure you don't cheat in any way. She said, and of course, Izuku has never seen such bullshit before. Does it have to be that close? I can feel them. He tried to find any sense to this, so he came up with the idea that she wasn't aware. You said you like challenges, so this is one from me. Can you concentrate while I'm here? Izuku, this was her objective from the beginning. And she was enjoying herself maybe a little too much. Sigh, the atmosphere of the room changes immediately with his sigh. When he looked at her again, his face was completely calm, a smile of someone who had everything under control appeared on his face. I see. Thanks, Namuri-san. If this was another obstacle on his way to becoming a hero, he will face it with everything he got. The catboy turned around to do the test too quickly, missing the red cheeks on the pro-heroine. That was the first time he called her by her first name, and the way he acted, Izuku was simply too cool. Now it will be hard for her to restrain herself. Izuku survived the written exam somehow. And now he was at the auditorium with all the examinees. His assigned seat was next to Katsuki of all people, who just frowned when he saw the catboy. A few moments later, Present Mick walked to the podium. Welcome one and all to my live show. Mick's voices boomed in the auditorium. Izuku got excited that the baby on his ears worked just fine. May was amazing. Everybody say HEYYY. Hey. The catboy got too carried away to be able to finally hear normal and shot his right fist up while shouting. He soon noticed he was the only one doing it, making his face go crimson in embarrassment. He soon covered his head with his arms trying to disappear as everyone there began to laugh at him. Wow, only one person out of all of you seems to have the right attitude for a hero. What a sad start, listeners. Present Mick's voice quieted the laughter in an instant. What if this was part of the test? Only one person would have passed. The whole auditorium suffered a change. Now everyone else but Izuku looked worried and embarrassed. The green-haired boy looked at the pro-hero in disbelief. The blonde hero pulled up his glasses and winked at him. A smile appeared on the boy. Let's try again. Everybody say HEYYYY. Hey, now there wasn't a single soul who didn't shout. Of course, Katsuki shouted the loudest. If he was going to do something, he was going to be the best at it. That's more like it. Now pay close attention, listeners. The voice hero began to explain what the practical test consisted of. From the fake city districts to the point system of the villains. Izuku was already making a plan in his head until someone interrupted. Excuse me. May I ask a question? A rigid young man with black hair and glasses stood up. On the handout, there are clearly 4 types of villains listed. Such an error would be the height of embarrassment for the top-tier National Academy of UA caliber. Izuku had to admit that he had a point. Moreover, what's with you? The guy pointed at Izuku, who flinched at such an unexpected turn of events. You keep mumbling something over and over. You're distracting. He was really mad at Izuku. The catboy in question looked at his former childhood friend for answers. The exasperated look on the blonde's face was enough of an answer. Sorry, it is a bad habit. I was planning a course of action for the test. Izuku apologized nervously. As long as you understand. The young man sat down again. Okay. Thanks for the segue, examinee 7111. The 4th villain is give 0 point. It's just there to be an obstacle. I recommend to avoid it. The pro-hero answered the question, and after that, they were sent to their respective fake cities. Izuku was already in front of City B wearing his green tracksuit and staying barefoot because shoes just got in his way. Among all the people there, he recognized someone. Oh, is the nice girl from the entrance. The girl in question was doing some breathing techniques to ease her nerves. If I make her laugh, maybe that would help her. Yayoi Rozu told me it worked with her. With a plan, he began to approach her. Just to be stopped by a hand on his shoulder. Who exactly are you, my friend? It was the rigid guy from before. His intervention also caught the attention of everyone else. You didn't come to obstruct your fellow test takers, did you? Izuku, strangely enough, kept a calm facade while paying close attention to the frown of the young man with glasses. His hand moved on his own and placed itself on the shoulder of the rigid boy. What? Do you want to start a fight now that I have discovered your intentions? The black-haired teen jumped into conclusions. Taking a deep breath, Izuku spoke with a friendly smile. The young man didn't know why he followed so easily, but he did as he was told. Now, exhale. He did as he was told again. Then Izuku patted him on the shoulder. I know that the test is a little unnerving, but if you let that get to you, you're not going to be able to do your best, right? The rigid young man widened his eyes in surprise. He saw through me so easily. And I'm here judging him without even knowing him. How shameful of me. The catboy was right about him. He was so nervous that he lashed out at anything that slightly irritated him. He was really ashamed of himself. "I'm sorry." "And start." Present Mick's voice came from the distance, leaving every examinee startled. Izuku noticed this, knowing that there was no countdown, so he did the only this he saw logical at the moment. Eyes. Move. There are no countdowns in real life. Villains don't wait for the heroes. He told everyone what was happening, taking them out of their stupor and running inside, him being the last one. Meanwhile, with every teacher in the control room, everyone facepalmed at what he did. Midoriya-kun is the only person who wouldn't take advantage of that, Nezu commented, sweat dropping at the unpredictable logic of the boy. "Midoriya, my boy. You're too pure for this exam." Toshinori had his cheeks a little red, a little embarrassed for the boy. Then, something caught the attention of everyone in the room. Midnight was holding a little sign with the number 1 on it. "Why are you giving him a point, Kayama?" Eraserhead questioned her. "It's the job of a hero to help others out of a situation they don't understand. Which he just did, so I think that at least deserves a point," she explained. Soon after, the other 5 judges joined her with 1 point each. Even Shota couldn't argue with that logic. "So, the first 6 points are for Izuku Midoriya." The principal laughed. Back in City B. Izuku entered the fake city and he soon saw people already gathering some points for themselves. "Okay, time to make some points for me." He readied his muscles. When he was going to jump over a robot, his eyes drifted away for a second, spotting a 2-point robot that was going to attack another examinee from the back while fighting another robot. "Watch out." At unbelievable speed, he stopped the 2 points from the tail. Before he could do anything else, the person he saved took the 2 points. "Thanks for having my back." The teenager showed his gratitude. He had a green mohawk along with yellow-green skin, his face looked like an insect, but what stood out the most was the 2 impressive blades coming from his forearms. "Don't worry." Izuku soon took his leave. "Okay, now to make points." The 3 points fire its missiles to an unsuspecting girl. Just before impact, a green blur took the girl out of the way. "Missiles, seriously?" Izuku yelled at nothing in particular. "Are you okay?" he asked a girl as he helped her get up. "Yes, thanks." The girl in question had brown hair, curved inward in a mushroom-shaped bob, covering her eyes with her bangs. Izuku noticed a diminutive mushroom on the back of his left palm. It was probably her quirk. It didn't bother him at all, it would probably wear off by the time the test ended. He gave her goodbye and continued on his way. "Okay, now I have to make sure everyone is out of harm's way." Nico noticed immediately his change in priorities. "Wait, Izuku. What about the..." The catboy didn't even register her words as he dashed to the next person in trouble. In an alleyway, a midget with 4 purple balls for hair was surrounded by multiple robots. "Shit. How did this happen?" He was crying at his misfortune. "If only I had a distraction." A distraction right away. A voice came from behind. The midget turned around to see a green-haired catboy rushing at the robot that had him cornered. The catboy began to mess with the robots without even touching them. "Hey. That's all. You're so slow. Maybe all of you need a software update." Soon enough, every robot there focused on the annoying feline. Yet all of them couldn't even land a hit. He was playing with them, it was so unfair that it wasn't even funny. Seeing his opportunity, the midget began to throw the balls of his hair at the robots like a madman with his eyes closed, hoping he didn't hit the guy that was helping him. By the time he didn't hear any sound of the robots, he opened them to see. Every single robot was stuck in place with his sticky balls. He couldn't believe what his eyes were showing him. "Hey, we did it." A voice came from his side. There it was, the catboy without a scratch or one of his balls. He was holding his hand up for him to smack it. The midget jumped in euphoria and smacked it. "Dude, you're awesome. Thank you so much." "No problem, are you okay? You're bleeding through the head." He was informed in worry. "Oh, don't worry, it happens if I use too much of my quirk," the little fellow responded. "Okay. You know about the button on the robots to shut them down, right?" "Yes, every robot had a button for those people whose quirk was not a combatant type." The little guy nodded. "Then I'm going now." Izuku trotted away. "Wait. You're not going to take any point?" the purple midget asked in disbelief. "He did half of the job after all." "Don't worry, I don't like to steal points from others. That's not very hero-like," the catboy answered. And he left. He was so cool. The little guy was flabbergasted by his encounter. "Wait, haven't I seen him somewhere?" In another part of the fake city, a large group of people was also cornered by a lot of robots. They didn't have quirks made for combat, so they were easy targets. Among the group was a boy with messy indigo hair and eye bags under his eyes, indicating he didn't sleep that much. But right now, he was frustrated. He hadn't been able to get a single point, and now he was here being treated like livestock for the robots. "Hey." A shout took the group's attention. They saw a catboy running towards them. Every robot has a button to shut them down. 1 point behind its head, 2 points at the base of its tail, and 3 points at its rear. He shouted the information. Some of them already knew that. It was in the handout. They also changed targets to the most dangerous individual. He shouted again. They already knew, but that wouldn't help them here. Don't miss your chance. The catboy ordered as he stopped behind the robots. The claws of his hands and feet extended as he took a more savage appearance. Rough. With a roar escaping his mouth, every robot stopped on their track and turned around to take aim at the catboy. The bullets from the multiple one-pointers couldn't hit their mark. The laser coming from the tail of the two-pointers was too slow. And with the missiles of the three-pointers, he dodged them and even grabbed some mid-air to redirect upward so they didn't hit anyone else. The whole group was frozen in amazement at his prowess. The indigo-haired young man was the first to snap out of it. Understanding the catboy's words, he rushed forward and pressed the button of a one-pointer. My first point. He cold-bulleted it. Shortly after, everyone followed and the robots were shot down in no time. All of them were happy that they got some points for themselves. The indigo head began to look around trying to find the catboy. He at least should thank him. However, the green head was nowhere to be found. He was already gone. He didn't even take a single point. The young man thought a creepy smile appeared on his face. A hero in the hero entrance exam, how ironic. While running and looking for anyone else who needed any help, he found a blonde guy who was holding his stomach in deep pain. He doesn't look like he's hurt. A stomachache. He saw the blonde despite his pain. He shot a sparkling laser out of his belt to destroy a robot. Though the blonde was unable to notice the one-pointer behind him. In the glimpse of a second, Izuku was carrying the blonde bridal style. Are you okay? Izuku asked as he ran away from multiple robots that saw them. Have I seen him somewhere, he thought after looking up close. Where see my stomach aches if I use my laser too much? The blonde explained. The French gave him the answer. The guy he bumped into at the French restaurant with Monoma. Can you use it again? The catboy asked while watching the robots following him. One more time, I believe. Izuku smiled. Then we'll make it count. He stopped and put the blonde down. Wait for my signal. The green head turned around and rushed at the robots. The catboy took them in close combat without landing a hit. He just dodged and made them follow his movements. The blonde's eyes widened when he noticed that every robot was falling in a straight line. Fire. The signal came and he did as he was told. His naval laser cut through all the robots at the same time. Izuku approached him once more with a smile on his face. That was a nice team play. He said. Well, I'm going now. Take care. Without losing a beat, he was off. The blonde was left out of words because, right there, the one who shined the most was that catboy. Okay, who else needs help? Izuku asked himself while looking around. Izuku Nico yelled in exasperation, finally gaining his attention. What is it? He asked her. Where are your points? That froze him in place. Though He began to panic, he had forgotten his main objective. He looked around, but the robots were being taken out quickly. Maybe in an empty part of the city there are still robots for me. With that in mind, he ran far from any other examinee. Meanwhile in the control room. This year sure looks promising, Nezu said with a smile. But the real test hasn't even begun. It's time to see the true colors of these young people. He pressed a button. Izuku was in real panic. He hadn't found any robot, even though he was so far away from anyone else. Boom. An explosion quaked in the distance, probably where everybody was. Even though he couldn't see it, Izuku knew what it was. The zero-pointer. His eyes widened in horror. His legs were shot at maximum speed toward the direction of the final boss. His immediate thought was that someone could be in real danger. He couldn't allow that. Screw his points, that didn't matter right now. Faster, faster. Faster. He was too far away and his legs were already giving everything they got. The zero-pointer was just around the corner. However, when he turned around said corner, he bumped into someone. It was the rigid guy with glasses. He was running away from the zero-pointer and so did everyone else. But that didn't matter for Izuku. Time passed in slow motion for him. He was falling. What happened in the recommendation exam was going to happen again. And the worst part was that in the distance, he saw the nice girl at the entrance with her foot under pieces of concrete, trapping her there, and like if it wasn't enough, the zero-pointer was going to squash her with its gigantic hand. He wasn't that fast, he wouldn't arrive on time. In his desperation, an image came to his head. That day when he met his favorite vigilante, the crawler, and how he moved so fast with his quirk. Something overtook his body as he extended the claws of his hands and ready his arms to touch the ground. I have to save her no matter what. Inside his head, a feral grin appeared on Nico's face. Took you long enough, Dumbus. What kind of feline runs only on his hind legs? Izuku began to run on his forelimbs like a true beast. It took him a moment to take his piece, then he disappeared from sight. Only eyes that were used to high speed could see him, that's why the eyes of Tenu Aida were in shock. That's as fast as my Recipro. No, that's even faster. Ichako Uraraka had lost any hope as she saw everyone leave her behind. And seeing the gigantic hand approaching, she shut her eyes tight in fear, waiting for her death. Yet, the pain never came. So, she began to open her eyes again slowly. There he was. The catboy he met at the entrance. He was there holding the massive hand away with every fiber of his body. Don't worry. He looked at her over his shoulder, a forced smile on his face. I'm here. The shiver ran through her body. She was confused why he was here risking his life for her when no one else did. Why the question escaped her lips. That's a zero-pointer. The strongest villain she couldn't understand. What a coincidence. He talked again. It was painful to watch him hold that gigantic hand that was crushing him little by little. I'm a zero-pointer myself. Her eyes went wide in horror. So, he hasn't got any point. And yet he was here risking his life. He was doing what the others with many points didn't, even knowing that this wouldn't give him any points, he came anyway. She couldn't help but feel guilty. Because she was caught in the rubble, he gave away the time he could have used to gain some points. Why are you doing this? She bit her lips as she tried to take off the rubble of her foot with her quirk. She couldn't stay still, wasting his sacrifice. Why? Izuku repeated after her. Because what matters the most, the claws of his right foot anchored themselves to the ground, cracking it under the pressure. Above everything else, even my own life. His left foot did the same, he wouldn't move an inch anymore. It's to do. His hands tightened, piercing the zero-pointer palm while cracking its shell. What is right? He did the impossible and threw the hand in front of him, creating a cloud of dust. A second after, he appeared through the dust, running up a metallic arm, claws ready. Get away from her. He jumped at the zero-pointer's face and moved his arms in an X, leaving huge scratch marks on the robot. It wasn't enough. Still, in the air, he saw how the other hand of the zero-pointer came in his direction. I didn't think this through. He shielded himself with his leg and braced himself. He was smacked into a building. Pretty words are not enough if you cannot back them up with actions, kid. Shota Izawa commented from the control room. The zero-pointer focused again on Ichako, extending his hand again to crush her. The massive robot came to an abrupt halt when a growl that couldn't be made by any human being came from the hold on the building where Izuku was smacked. Parallelly, the other zero-pointers in the other fake cities stopped moving too. Their heads moving in the direction of City B. The Jiro Kirishima who was in City E took this opportunity. For the first time, he used one for all and jumped at the zero-pointer's head. A true man and a real hero wouldn't let something that causes so much fear on others to go rampant, right? Midoriya, he would be as heroic as his brother from another mother and prove to him and All Might to not regret their decision. Now, clench your asshole super tight. And scream the word from the bottom of your manly heart. The zero-pointer returned to normal and looked at the kid in front of it, but it was already too late. Smash. The head of the robot was obliterated. Even though he used his hardening along with Ofa, the power was still too huge, so his arm and feet were broken, though not in a million pieces, and they still retained their normal color. His hardening helped a little. But now he was falling. I will have to use my other hand to stop the fall, Jiro thought. However, at the last moment, a mantle of thorny vines caught him, keeping him safe. A few moments before in the control room. Uh-oh. Nezu began to type on a keyboard in panic. What? What's happening? Midnight asked, also in panic. In fact, every teacher was in panic. This was the first time they saw the principal like this. It may have been an error from the damage or maybe a bug in the program, but Nezu spoke. But what? For a moment the zero-pointer in City B called the other zero-pointers from the other cities as reinforcement after judging an unknown creature as too dangerous. What? Every teacher screams in surprise. Where was this creature located? Shota was the first to regain composure. He needed information and maybe to stop the entire test. It came from the hole in the building where Midoriya-kun was hit. The control room fell in silence. Back in City B. The cloud of dust on the hole dissipated, revealing Izuku on his floor with a scary face. Calm down, rage is not the answer, you can't let it consume you. Midoriya told that to himself. Nico status report. He has learned something from the feline inside his body. She knew what happened to his body better than himself. Your left leg is fractured after you use it to block the hit. Any harsh movement and you'll break it. He informed me. This is what he was talking about. Due to the adrenaline he didn't know his leg was fractured that badly. That means I only have one shot. He said. What? No. I didn't say that. The black cat yelled furiously, not liking where this was going. Sorry, I can't hear you. That. She began to insult him for such bullshit. Izuku looked at the zero-pointer which was readying its fist to end the job with him. The catboy did the same with his muscles. A gigantic robot threw its punch while Izuku jumped at him at the same time, breaking his leg in the process. He avoided the punch for an inch, going at its head. Nico he readied both of his fists. Punch. Both punches connected head-on, arms exploding in a bloody mess as the entire head of the robot was separated from its body. Everyone in City B saw in awe how the biggest enemy was defeated. Izuku began to fall from a great height. Yet he was completely calm. My arms exploded and my leg was broken. This is the end again. And I don't think a cute girl is going to save me again. Slap. The hand found its way into his face only for his fall to stop abruptly. The nice girl saved him. She was floating on a piece of a robot. Release. She joined her fingertips together and everything regained gravity. Izuku fell on his back looking at the sky relatively unharmed. The nice girl, on the other hand, began to puke. The catboy had a deadpan face. I want Katsuden to rain from the sky. He better go and try it after all of this. Nothing happened. Damn it. The nice girl regained a little of her composure. What are you doing? You have to go and take some points. She told him. Sorry, no can do. My 2 arms and my left leg are busted. I cannot move even if I wanted to, and now that the adrenaline wears off it is impossible for me. He was too calm for his situation, it was almost unsettling. And if my internal clock is working as it should, the test should be ending right about now. It's over. Present mix shout froze the girl. Thanks for saving me again, Izuku spoke again with a smile on his face. She felt guilty, because of her he lost his opportunity to pass the exam. Hey, why the long face? I'm sure you were able to pass. Don't worry. He tried to encourage her, missing completely the reason for her mood. You're going to be a great heroine, I'm sure of it. You saved me 2 times after all. Please stop. You're just making me feel worse. Chako pleaded in her head, covering her face the best she could so he couldn't see the tears forming in her eyes. What's your name? She looked up, the girl needed to know at least that. He didn't answer, his eyes were closed and he wasn't moving. He died. She screamed in panic. He just fell asleep. In a harsh movement, she hit her forehead with a metal. She felt dumb, but she began to laugh, all her worries disappearing in an instant. Chako Uraraka swore to herself that she would repay him, even if it cost her to get into the hero course. A recovery girl appeared in the distance, giving everyone some gummies until she was in front of Izuku. Sigh, why do you have to be the only one who ends in the worst condition possible again, sweetie? Her lips extended, giving him a smush on his forehead. After that, 2 little robots came with a stretcher, taking the catboy to the infirmary. The exam was over. Izuku arrived home completely healed. Went to his room, changed clothes and headed out. Izuku? Inko stopped him at the door, her motherly instinct told her that something wasn't right with him. How did the exam go? She asked nervously. Izuku stood there in silence for a moment. Then he turned his head, a pained smile on his face. I did the right thing, Mom. With those words, he left the apartment. The feline teenager was now at the Gaba beach, practicing his fighting style to let out some steam and clear his mind. It wasn't working. Hey. Do you need a partner for that? A voice came from the distance. There it was, the pro hero Death Arm smiling at him. Please, it was hard for him to even speak. They began to spar together in silence until the pro hero broke it. So, how did the exam go? He asked as he avoided a roundhouse kick aimed at his head. I did the right thing. Izuku answered. I see. Death Arms blocked a jab. The momentum of the kid began to slow down. I did the right thing, he repeated. Yeah. The strength of his blows was faltering. I did. He jabbed again at his abdomen. The pro didn't even bother to block it. The boy came to a stop with that last hit. The right thing, his voice cracked and tears ran down his cheeks. His facadas crumbled. I know, the pro answered. Then why do I feel so worthless? He finally confessed, his tears unable to stop. The huge man hugged him and patted him on the back. Death Arms could understand him. The boy worked so hard for 10 months for this day and failed. Or that was what the kid believes. The pro already knew that it wasn't the case, he just didn't want to ruin the surprise. He still had to make sure of something though. Do you regret it? He asked. There's no way I can regret it. Izuku yelled immediately. Regretting such a thing would mean regretting the path he has chosen. Okay, that's it. I'm not going to wait anymore. A new voice came from the entrance of the beach. The catboy turned his head. You. Hold up, Mount Lady, we're not supposed to tell him. Death Arms spoke nervously as the pro heroine approached them with a frown on her face. I don't care. Look at him. He's such an idiot that it's painful to watch. She said with a bad temper. Those weren't the words Izuku was expecting to hear. I'm an idiot. He repeated. Yes. You can read people so easily. But when it comes to you, you're denser than a brick. While she was saying all of that, she was hitting him on the forehead with her index finger, as if she was trying to drill what she was saying into his head. Ouch, ouch, ouch. She left a red mark in the center of his head. If you weren't so cute, I would be strangling you right now. She said with her hands around his throat, trembling as she restrained herself from squishing. But why? What are you so mad about? He asked, not knowing why she was so upset. And here is her point. You're not getting it, are you? A new voice spoke. Iwabami, the boy screamed in surprise. The snake heroine was calmer than Mount Lady, but it was clear to him that she was also upset at him. But the two heroines there, Death Arms, feared for the well-being of the kid. Wait, what are the three of you doing here? Izuku asked. Helping a kid when he's feeling down. That's what heroes do. The trio answered. Well, you and Iwabami are not doing a great job. He thought he couldn't say that or he was as good as dead. Where did you learn that? He asked. They never taught him something like that. The three pros looked at each other as if the answer was obvious. From you, of course. That stopped the catboy on his track. But now, going back to the matter at hand. Iwabami was the first to speak. Why do you think you failed? Because I didn't get any points. He answered as if it was obvious. Because you Takeyama trailed off, signaling him to continue. He was a little embarrassed. I forgot and began to help other people. Isn't helping what heroes do? Death Arms questioned. Yes. Then why do you think you didn't pass? Iwabami finally lost her temper. As I said, I didn't get any points. He couldn't understand. Don't make us slap you. The two females said through her gritted teeth. I swear to God I'm going to find a way to slap you too. Nico also threatened him. Why would a school for heroes fail you for acting as a hero? Death Arms intervened, knowing that the two heroines were serious. Wait, you're saying I passed? He finally got it. How do you know that? He was still skeptical. Remember the paper I made you sign when you worked with me? Iwabami asked. All the pieces fell together. You three recommended me. Yeah, and we got a headache when UA informed us that you would be taking the two exams. Mount Lady said with an accusatory look on her face. You know how stupid you are? Izuku still couldn't believe it. Maybe he was dreaming. Please, slap me. Smack. Ouch. You didn't even hesitate. His two cheeks hurt like hell. Both women seemed pleased with themselves after letting out their frustration with a slap. On another note. The snake heroine talked again. I also came to inform you that you have a job again. What? He barely processed her words. Some people saw the video on your fan page where you played with two kids. And now they want you, so as your manager I'm informing you. She was very good at interpreting his lack of words. It will be in 2 days, so be ready. Okay? It wasn't like he could decline. Now with everything settled and a crisis avoided, the atmosphere turned heavier. The two female heroes were looking at each other with fire in their eyes. What's happening? Izuku asked in fear. Death Arms placed a hand on his shoulder. Let's go for something to eat and leave them here. The bulky man suggested. Are you sure? Izuku was worried. Yeah. If you want to live, that is. His answer just scared the kid even more. And just like that, they both left. The other two didn't even notice. I have no intentions to share, you stated her intention. Funny, because you can't share what's not yours, Iwabami responded with venom in her words. It was on. Back at UA in the control room. After all the examinees left, it was time to count the points. Now they were looking at the top 10 in complete silence. You didn't make any mistakes, right? President Mick was the first to talk. There are no mistakes, Yamada-kun, Nezu answered. You sure? The voice hero still was skeptical. Well, the other teachers couldn't blame him, they felt the same. Positive? The rodent responded again. But this hasn't happened before. He continued. I'm well aware of that. It's the first time in US history that something like this happens. He was the principal for a reason. Everyone is dismissed except for Izawa-kun. Everyone began to leave. I told you, you would regret it. Midnight said with a satisfied grin as she left. Good luck, Eraser. Vlad King burst into laughter as he smacked the back of the mentioned teacher. Finally, only the principal and Shota remained. If we're technical, he didn't get first place, right? I mean, Eraserhead tried to find an excuse but was interrupted. Well, if we're technical. Adding the result of both his practical tests and written tests. Izuku Midoriya-kun got first place in both exams. Nezu used his own excuse against him. I believe that you still remember our little bet. The pro hero clicked his tongue at that. And I already know what you're going to pick as a punishment for you, and you're restricted from using your quirk on her. Shota clicked his tongue again. He took his leave as he pulled out his phone, making a call. Somebody picked up at the other end of the line. YELLO, you never called me before, Eraser. It was a female voice. What do I owe the pleasure? To Izuku Midoriya. He thought. Shota sighed, he just has to do it quickly. Emi. Yes. Let's have a date. The black-haired man dropped the bomb. What? Was all the answer he got. Aizawa left the room. Nezu laughed at him while sparing a last glance at the monitor with the top 10 before leaving the room too. This year sure is going to be interesting. Top 10. First place. Katsuki Bakugo. Villain points. 100. Rescue points. 0. Total. 100. First place. Ijiro Kirishima. Villain points. 50. Rescue points. 50. Total. 100. First place. Izuku Midoriya. Villain points. 0. Rescue points. 100. Total. 100. For the first time in the UA history there were 3 people tied in the first place. It was 12 in the midnight. An aeroplane was flying over Musatafu. And one member of the crew was preparing to eat his dinner. Oh yes. I've been waiting all day for this. He licked his lips in preparation. He also had a door open, he liked to eat his meals with fresh air. At Tadakima the plane suffered a little turbulence making his plate jump through the door. No. My food. The plate landed in the UA High, in the fake city B, on the place where a catboy laid many hours ago. The food was katsudon. Even though the 3 pros told him he passed, Izuku still couldn't relax. It has been 3 days since the entrance exam. Yesterday as promised, he went to do his job with Iwabami. It was just a small commercial, it wasn't at the scale of the last one, but that didn't bother him at all. If he is honest, being famous can get really awkward, so this was fine. But leaving that aside, Izuku has been training harder than ever these past 3 days, incapable of calming down until he gets the letter from UA. That's why he was now in a special place. He wasn't going to lie, he was really nervous about what he was going to do. Izuku, you've been standing there for 10 minutes now. Nico informed him, losing her patience by the second. But it's this alright? Can this still be done? Izuku had his doubts about it. There's only one way to find out. She was right, staying there he would accomplish nothing. Taking a deep breath, the catboy entered the building. The first thing he saw was a big sign with the words. Martial Arts Dojo. There was no turning back now. The reception area was empty strangely enough, however, he could already hear the sound of people training. Midoriya opened a door from where all the noise was coming. Behind the door he found multiple people sparring, doing shadow fighting, training their bodies or practicing their stances. It left him speechless. Hey there, young lad. A deep voice startled him, turning his head, Izuku saw a huge minotaur approaching him with a friendly smile. We weren't expecting anybody today, but we're always open to new faces. Tell me, kid, do you want to join the dojo? The man didn't even let him introduce himself. It was still hard to state his motive to be here. Just do it, Nico yelled out of impatience. I'm here to challenge the dojo. He shouted with his eyes closed. The noise of training came to an abrupt end. Izuku opened his eyes slowly, everyone was looking at him. This was a bad idea. He regretted his decision. The Minotaur began to laugh hysterically. To think I would live to see something like this. Alright, kid, I accept your challenge. Master, are you sure? One of the people training asked the Minotaur. He's the master of the dojo. Izuku's face flared up in embarrassment. He just shouted on his face. Yeah, I'm sure. This was something that happened often in the era before quirks even existed. Nowadays, things like this have been forgotten, so I'm a little excited about it. The master of the dojo confessed with a little blush on his face. Would you let this old man have his selfish request and play along? The room fell silent for a moment. Yes. Every student, young or old, yelled at the same time, bound to the Minotaur who was their master. It left Izuku flabbergasted seeing how much respect they have for this man. He must be someone amazing. Now, tell me, boy. Have you practiced martial arts before? I have practiced on my own, but I'm probably still a novice. Izuku is more relaxed now. They seemed like good people. I see. Then go change yourself into proper attire. The Minotaur handed him the uniform of his dojo. I'll pick one of my students to be your opponent and we'll see from there. Doing as he was told, Izuku returned minutes later wearing the uniform. The clothes definitely made the man. He felt more powerful. He stepped up on the little arena where another guy of around his age was waiting. You said you were a novice, so I chose someone around your capabilities. The master said. The rules are simple. It will be a point-based fight. Whoever gets 2 out of 3 points wins. The points would be obtained by getting a clear hit on your opponent, pushing them out of bounds, or if the opponent surrenders. Knocking them out will mean an instant win. Is that clear? Yes. The 2 opponents said at the same time. Okay, get ready. The student took the stance he had been practicing, yet Izuku stood still. Kid, get ready. The master said to Izuku. Just like him, everyone was looking at the catboy weirdly. I'm ready, sir, Izuku reassured me. Everyone could only think he was a dumbass. He was truly a novice. Suit yourself. The master of the dojo shook his head in disappointment. This might end quicker than I thought. He muttered to himself. Fight. Boom. Everybody's eyes went wide when they saw the student falling unconscious. Izuku had his fist where the stomach of the student was a moment before. All of that happened in less than a second. The green head had a panicked face. He had his guard wide open, so I took it. Was that okay, sir? He feared he had done something illegal. Izuku was not expecting to knock him out so easily. A wide grin appeared on the Minotaur. He was completely wrong about this kid. After that, more students were chosen to fight, each stronger than the last one. Izuku pretty much one-shots every single one of them one way or another. If they took the initiative and attacked first, they met a counter. If they played it safe, he would bait them and finish it off. 6 out of 6 fights won by him. This hurts my pride a little as the master of the dojo. But we can use this experience to learn what we lack, the Minotaur said. But this is not over yet. It's time for my stellar student. The master had a prideful smirk saying those words. Kendo. It feels like he is just a Pokemon trainer sending his max-out starter to finish the job, Nico commented nonchalantly. How do you even know about the franchise? Your cat. Izuku questioned with a sweat drop running down his temple. I have my ear. The feline said with pride. The girl stepped forward. She was of the same age as him. The girl had ginger hair with a high ponytail on the left side. Her teal eyes burned with confidence, but there was also kindness. Izuku took a deep breath. The master wasn't kidding when he said she was her stellar student. She could perfectly be at the level of the recommended students like Inasa or Yayoi Rozu. It's not to brag or anything. She's super strong. She even got accepted into UA, said the master of the dojo with a wide smile on his face. He's totally bragging. Izuku and Nico along with all the students there thought that. Master, please. You're embarrassing me, said the girl known as Kendo with a faint blush on her cheeks. Besides, I haven't received an answer from the UA yet. CUT. Every male including Izuku thought the same seeing her reaction. I'm sure you got in. You're amazing after all. The Minotaur said without a trace of pride, he genuinely believed it. Thank you, master. Kendo bowed respectfully to the man who had seen her grow into a splendid fighter. So, how about we make this last fight more interesting? The Minotaur spoke again. Because she will become a hero in the future, how about we allow quirks to be used in this fight? I don't have any objections, Izuku answered. If he doesn't have any of them, me neither, Kendo responded, though she felt like her master was forcing it a little just for her. We're going to see big sis Kendo using her quirk on a fight. One of the students said to another in excitement. This is gonna be awesome. Others commented. Go get him, Ni-chan. Another girl shouted. Ni-chan. 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 Everyone began to cheer for her, only making her even more embarrassed. Izuku holds his laughter. Even people older than them were calling her big sis. It was clear she was the heart of this place. Everyone is just silent. She shouted in exasperation with a blush on her face. And you. She pointed at him. Don't laugh, okay? Or I'll make you regret it. It was hard, but he managed to not laugh. They both stepped into the boundary field. This time, Izuku took a stance. Tiger style, is he really a novice? Kendo wondered. Fight. Both of them stood still. Izuku had to respect his opponent now. Not only he knew his previous ticks wouldn't work with her, but the new factor of quirks being allowed put him in disadvantage. While his quirk could be seen on his body, he didn't know his opponent's. Kendo made the first move, getting close and throwing a right jab at him. The catboy avoided it, responding with a counter at her chest. She grabbed his fist with her left hand and pulled him closer while moving her body down. In a swift movement, she carried his body over her shoulders, taking him by surprise. Kendo threw him, trying to take him out of bounds by making him fall on his back. Izuku landed on his feet in an awkward position due to his opponent still holding his fist. He used his other to swipe backward in an attempt to free himself. It forced her to retreat, giving him some space to breathe. She hadn't even used her quirk, and he almost lost. The pause didn't last for long as Kendo went back with a barrage of hits. Izuku could barely dodge them. She then went for a rotatory kick at his ankles, forcing him to jump to avoid it. Kendo continued with her momentum, attacking with the back of her palm. Still, in the air, Izuku decided to block it like the zero-pointer. It didn't have the strength to push him out anyway. At the last moment, her hand expanded to the size of his body. The force of the impact exceeded his expectations, taking him out of bound. The green-haired boy recovered faster, but he still had a look of disbelief while seeing the girl's giant hand. Hey, would you stop that? Kendo asked him with a frown on her face. What? He asked back, not understanding why she was upset. It's plainly obvious you're holding back. Are you looking down on me because I'm a woman? She said a little pissed. What? No, I haven't been. Cut it, kid. The master was the one who interrupted. You took the tiger stance but didn't use any move. Izuku's eyes widened. Why was he expecting to fool them when they have done this for more time than him? I got carried away and tried to use what I knew and regretted a second after. He confessed. It doesn't have to do with your gender or anything. It's just I can't allow myself to go all out. For the sake of everyone's safety. I'm not a fragile princess or anything. I can take it. Kendo protested. Izuku raised his hand to show her. He pulled out his claws slowly to make the point clear. Unless you have a hardening type quirk. I don't think you can. Now they understood. They were no strangers to the tiger style, so if he used any move with those claws, he could easily draw blood. Izuku was at a disadvantage because he simply couldn't use his quirk. But that doesn't matter. Izuku stood up and walked into the bounded field. If I had to rely only on my quirk for everything, I wouldn't get far in the path I've chosen. A smile appeared on his face. I intend to win this. Kendo smiled back. You can try. They both took their stances again. Fight. This time Izuku took the initiative, immediately rushing at blinding speed. Punching forward. Something like this wouldn't work on Kendo. Though it was hard to dodge, she opted to block it by enlarging her hands in front of her. A perfect shield. Yet the impact never came. Kendo, behind. Someone shouted. It was too late though, as a kick took her out of bounds. TSK. Izuku clicked his tongue. That warning made her react a little, preventing it from being a knockout. That was his only opportunity to win. In a long fight, she had the upper hand, so he needed to end it quickly. Smack. With a karate chop, the master sends the student who shouted to sleep. If anyone interferes like that again, they will be suspended for a month. He yelled in anger. The ginger girl was still recovering from the impact, however, she was more shocked than anything else. He used my quirk against me, she thought. Yes, Izuku had forced her to block like that. By having such a shield, she lost view of him and capitalized on that. That was his intention all along. The only way to pull something like that was by having an understanding of her quirk, which was the shocking part because he only saw it for a few seconds. It was scary that he figured her out so easily. Are you okay? I didn't hit you that hard, did I? Izuku offered his hand in worry after seeing her staying still for too long. Kendo broke from her trance and accepted the gesture. How did you do it? She asked. Excuse me? The catboy didn't understand. By quirk. You figure it out so easily. Oh, I'm just a big fan of quirks, so I tend to analyze them. It was a little embarrassing to admit that. And I practiced it quickly to take countermeasures. That last sentence put a little blush on his cheeks. Your quirk only enlarges your hands, right? Of course, if it was any other part of your body you would have already used it in the first match, like your feet or something. It also seemed to enhance your strength when it hit me. It's super useful in a fight, and with your training mutter. Izuku kept spitting information about her quirk. It was a little creepy how accurate it was, to be honest. Oh okay, I get it. You can stop now. Kendo intervened, sweat running down her temple. Sorry, I thought I already got rid of that. Izuku scratched the back of his head in embarrassment. He now only does it inside of his head, so he lowered his guard when he was asked about it. Anyway, I guess it is my loss. The girl admitted. Hey. There's one last match to decide the winner. He stated. But someone intervened. If it wasn't for that I would be unconscious right now. That's just an unknown factor, like in real life, it can't be helped. Let's just have the final match. I want to see how far I can go against you. Izuku replied with a bright smile. Kendo covered her eyes from such a blinding smile. It was hard to refuse him. Okay, let's do it. She gave in. But I won't go easy on you. The catboy nodded happily. I'm Izuku Kendo, by the way. Izuku Midoriya. Pleased to meet you. Shall we begin? A few inches later. Izuku laid down on the floor looking at the ceiling of the dojo. It was a complete and one-sided loss. The same tricks wouldn't work on Itsuka twice. This outcome wasn't a surprise for him. This feels like an empty victory. Itsuka was feeling down about this. She will definitely teach a lesson to whoever interfered with her fight. After that, the catboy prepared to leave, saying goodbye to everyone. Lastly, it was Kendo. If we meet again, teach me how to fight better, Izuku said while shaking her hand. Sure. She smiled. And like that Izuku left. Wait, he said his name was Izuku Midoriya. A student asked his master. Yes, why? Wait, so it was him. The student freaked out as he pulled his phone. He's famous. Look. He showed them the catboy's last commercial. So that's why he looks so familiar. Another student commented. I heard a rumor that he applied to the UA just like Kendo. Do that, the ginger girl gave a derogatory look at her master who was bragging about her before the fight. Endo-chan, your gaze is hurting me, said the Minotaur, shaking at her stare. Good, was her only response. 2 days after, Izuku was in his room training. So, why aren't we going out today? Nico asked. Just to be sure. The letter from UA should arrive around these days, so I'm staying home. He answered. And when do you think it's gonna arrive? It would be convenient that arrived right now, but… The door of his room burst open with a worried Inko. Izuku. TTT, the letter from UA. She shouted, showing him the precious piece of paper in her hand. There was a pause for a moment. You're starting to scare me. The feline in his head stated. Now alone in his room, he opened it to find a disc along with some papers. A hologram again. He placed it over his desk. I'm on a screen, the voice of the number 1 hero echoed in his room. All Might, it was a complete surprise. Izuku checked the letter again, confirming that it was from the UA indeed. I'm also on a screen. Principal Nezu appeared on All Might's shoulder. Hello, Izuku Midoriya-kun. You're probably wondering why All Might is here, right? Was he that easy to read? Well, you see. It's been decided that I'll work at UA. Izuku's eyes widened at this new information. But why tell him? And even though you don't have it, you still were a candidate and someone I hold in high regard. That's why I wanted to tell you. Hoffam. This is nice, but we don't have all the time in the world. Nezu intervened. In the written test you did great. It wasn't a perfect score like the recommended one, but I guess I went a little overboard with it. You and Midnight both. Izuku declared as a chill ran down his spine remembering that day. At the practical, you got 0 points. You, of course, failed. All Might stated. Izuku already knew that Yeti was calm. He was waiting to see if what the trio of pros told him was true or not. But wait. There's more. Behold this screen. Nezu pressed a button. Excuse me. The girl with the bob cut appeared. Izuku recognized her immediately. After the exam, this little lady came to make a petition. Sorry to bother you, but do you know the boy with the curly hair and cat features? He had a plain look. Do you know who I'm talking about? She tried to explain with hand gestures. That's me. Izuku thought. Wait, hold up. You're okay with her calling you plain? Nico intervened for a moment. It's not that big of a deal. What part of you is plain? She could have used something like dumb or idiotic. The feline continued. Hold up. Those last words weren't what he was expecting. Unfortunately, the video didn't have a pause button, so he couldn't retaliate. Would it be possible to give him my points? The girl yelled. Izuku froze with her words. Wait. You don't have to. He stopped mid-sentence remembering that it was pre-recorded and even if it was not, she couldn't hear him. He called himself a 0-pointer, so I figured he didn't earn any at all. A lump formed in Izuku's throat. Please at least give him the points he lost because of me. That boy saved my life. Much more than any quirk. It's your actions that have touched people. There were more than villain points. Nezu spoke. Did you think there'd be a department of heroic that rejects an entrant for doing the right thing? That's impossible. The symbol of peace took it from there. There were rescue points given by the judges. Izuku Midoriya. 100 points. And while we're at it, Echako Uraraka. 45 points. This means you passed, my boy. This is your Hero Academia. They both finished. After that, Izuku got a message on his phone from All Might himself, telling him to meet him at Dagaba Beach. An hour later, he arrived just to run into Kirishima-kun. The red-haired boy grinned widely. Dude. They bumped fist without even thinking. He called you too. Yeah, Izuku responded. They both entered the beach, spotting the scrawny person that called them. All Might. Ijiro shouted, but Izuku covered his mouth immediately. Bro. I know you're excited, but he's small and might form outside. Don't yell that so carelessly. Izuku reprimanded his brother. Ijiro lowered his arm slowly as Izuku took his hand off his mouth. Small might? Kirishima questioned, hearing that for the first time. It sounds better than half might. What the hell is that? I sound like somebody couldn't get a full boner or something. See, that's why it's small. Dick jokes aside, they met with the hero. Hey, you two. Congrats on passing the exam. Toshinori greeted them with a high five. Just so you know, I wasn't part of the judges, that would have been. He looked at Kirishima for a second. Unmanly. Thanks. The two teens replied. But man, it was surprising to hear that you're going to be a teacher at UA, Ijiro commented. You were going to look for a successor among the students, right? Izuku spoke, reminding them how sharp he was. Ah, right. Tagada-senpai. I forgot about him. Ijiro contemplated his hands. He still couldn't believe he was that successor. One for all is so strong that even with my hardening, I still broke my body with just a punch. I still wonder if I was the right choice. Smack. Ouch. What was that for? The hardened boy yelled at Izuku after he hit him on the head. That's what you get for thinking like that. The catboy answered with a serious face. Do you want to know why we passed on it and left it for you? The 2-1 for all users stood quiet. They didn't think there was another reason besides the ones that were already given. Because no matter if it was you, Toga senpai or me, we all would have done amazing things with it. Then why me? You thought we didn't notice? Those insecurities deep in your heart. Even now you still think you're not enough to be a hero. Ijiro froze with his words. You still don't believe in yourself. But now you have a great power, so quit thinking like that. Izuku pointed at him. It wasn't decided based on who would do better, but who needed it the most. All Might's eyes widened in realization. Izuku saw the succession as a tool to save somebody else. So have more faith in you like I do. Besides, it was your first time using it, just give it some time. The green head finished, holding his fist up. Irideed followed the gesture and bumped it with a smile on his face. Young Midoriya is right, Yagi spoke from there. Imagine you ask a guy who suddenly sprouted a tail to do tricks with it. He wouldn't know how to control it properly. Same story here. Yeah, I cut myself with my claws when I got my quirk, and my tail was a disaster to control, Izuku confessed while laughing. I just remembered something. Ijiro said. I did this to myself the first day my hardening manifested. He pointed to the scar above his right eye. See, with time you learn to tone down the power level and save your body from the drawbacks. All Might explained as he picked empty cans from the sand. The more you build the vessel, the more you can control the power within. Like this. He buffed up and squished the cans in one hand. Wait, isn't that All Might? How did he get here? A couple shouted from a distance. Smack. Izuku facepalmed hard. What's the point of trying to keep it a secret if these two muscle heads are so careless? They had to apply the Joestar secret technique. The next day, Izuku was in the city waiting for people to celebrate their passing. It was a day with the boys. Hey, Midoriya Izuku. Two voices called his name. Ijiro Kirishima's eyes met with Inasa Urashi. They stared at each other until Izuku spoke. What's up, guy? I think introductions come first. He cleared his throat. Kirishima-kun, Inasa Urashi. Inasa-kun, Ijiro Kirishima. Please get along. The two of them kept staring at the other until. Yo. Ijiro swung his hand. Hey. Inasa did the same. They collided in a loud handshake. It was brotherhood at first sight. I knew you two would get along just fine, Izuku spoke with a wide smile. Kirishima-kun and I got accepted into UA, and Inasa-kun was accepted in Shiketsu. So, I thought we should go out to celebrate. That sounds manly. The Irideed exclaimed. Awesome. What are we gonna do? The big guy asked in excitement. Let's go for lunch, then to the arcade and end the day with a movie. If you want to do something else, just say it. It was pretty normal stuff for teenagers like them. Oh. I want to see a movie too. A new voice interrupted them. Their three heads moved slowly in the direction of Izuku's right arm. There, clinging to his arm was. Toga. Izuku screamed in his head. How? I didn't feel her presence at all. And judging by the faces of the other two, they didn't either. Midoriya, who's her? Ijiro asked. Oh, what do I do? How do I explain my relationship with her? What's my relationship with her in the first place? Izuku went into a panic attack. I'm Izukun's girlfriend. Toga Himiko. Toga exclaimed with a grin on her face. There was an awkward silence for a moment, then. The three boys screamed in unison. Kirishima immediately punched Izuku in the chest. Why are you surprised? The red boy asked in exasperation. This is the first time I hear that too. The catboy answered with a blush on his face while rubbing his chest where he was punched. We haven't even started our high school lives yet, you already have a cute girlfriend. I admire you, Izuku, but I'm also extremely jealous. Inasa commented with his arms crossed. Like I said, I don't know what Toga is talking about. He tried to excuse himself. You're on a first-name basis and seem used to her being so close, Kirishima stated the facts. Izuku looked at his side, just to find the little psychopath rubbing her cheek against his shoulder while letting out a dumb giggle. And the worst part was that he was totally okay with it due to experiencing worse things from her. Why would I be lying about this in the first place? Izuku came with the best response. If they were his friends, they would know he wouldn't lie. Then we should kiss to prove you wrong. Toga proposed, taking the situation back to the beginning. He could bet she was doing it on purpose at this point. That doesn't make any sense. The catboy snapped at the stupidity of the situation. Listen, she is just. His words came to a stop as he froze in place because I don't know anything about Toga. He had always tried to convince her to give up and go to the police, but he never made the effort to know her better. He was denser than a rock. The quartet was now in a fast food restaurant having lunch. Izuku managed to calm things down somehow and they let Toga tag along. The blonde girl was eating a hamburger. Of course, Izuku was the one that paid for her because she didn't have any money with her. Ejiro and Inasa laughed at a joke that Toga just made. She acts surprisingly normal around others, how the catboy wondered to himself. No, that's just an act. Only I know the real her. The sense of blood never left his nose drills when she was around, and today was no exception. He watched her take another bite at her burger, splashing sauce on her cheeks. Izuku took a napkin out of instinct. Hey, learn how to eat properly in front of others, Toga. He said as he wiped her cheek like she was some kind of toddler. The other two gave him a suspicious look. Like I said, there's nothing happening here. This is just who I am and you two know it. Midoriya defended himself from their stares. You're acting weird, Kirishima commented while Urashi nodded. Izuku just let out a tiresome sigh. He couldn't tell them it was because of the smell of blood coming from Himiko. After lunch, they went to the arcade. Surprisingly enough, Toga beat them on everything. It was a complete and one-sided massacre from the girl. Damn, she's so manly, Ejiro said with a tear coming from his eye. No, I don't want to be manly. I'm cute, okay, Himiko retorted at his comment. Finally, it was time to watch a movie. The quartet was the last on the line. Meanwhile, not too far away. This day has been great. A woman with sea green hair spoke. Don't you think so, Eraser? The man at her side was none other than the pro-hero Eraserhead. Ah, sorry, should I call you Asawa or is it Shota? Shota is fine, he answered uninterestedly. He called her Emi after all. And it hasn't been that bad. The big smile appeared on Emi's face after hearing that. She clung to his arm. I still can't believe that you asked me for a date. And the best part is that it wasn't a joke. Me neither, he said. Watching a movie is all that's left, and then this is over. As he expected, Shota had been laughing during the day against his own will, so he was exhausted emotionally and probably physically as well. It wasn't like he wasn't exhausted all the time anyway. The couple turned the corner to get to the cinema and Asawa froze in place. In front of him was the maker of all his misfortune. There he was, Izuku Midoriya. Something wrong, Shota? Ms. Jokes asked for his sudden stop. Eraser snapped out of it with her voice. He needed it to make an excuse. Just tired. Your quirk has made me laugh too much today, that's all. Emi began to laugh uncontrollably. What's so funny? Shota asked, not understanding her reaction. Sorry, it's just Shota, I haven't used my quirk a single time on you today. She confessed. Izawa's eyes grew wide in realization. For the first time in ages, no, since forever, his face exploded in a blush. If she hasn't used her quirk, that means he genuinely enjoyed his time with her. He lowered his guard too much due to the prohibition of his quirk, after all, he always was erasing her quirk every time she was around. You're so red. Emi made fun of him. Anyway, how about we watch a comedy? She asked, a beautiful smile on her face. Wait, beautiful. Meanwhile in Izuku's head. The guy behind you almost kills you with his glare. What did you do? Nico yelled in panic. I don't even know him. How would I know he was also in panic? That bloodlust scared him for a moment. So, what do you want to see? Inasa asked the trio. Everything seems interesting. Ah, it's hard to decide. Ejiro scratched his head desperately due to his indecision. I want to watch that. Toga pointed at a billboard. The horror movie? Izuku wondered out loud. She's definitely going to use it to cling on to me. That was his conclusion. Oh, that sounds great. I can show how manly I am. Kirishima exclaimed. That's a challenge, Kirishima. Urashi held his fist up with a grin on his face. Yeah, whoever gets scared loses. Izuku let out a sigh. It was 3 against 1, he had to give in. Later, 20 minutes into the movie. Inasa, Kirishima and Izuku were screaming to the top of their lungs. The first to hug each other, trying to find protection on one another. Izuku, on the other hand, was clinging to Toga for dear life. Himiko was enjoying the movie to her heart's content while laughing with glee in her eyes. The 3 boys left the cinema trembling, Izuku using Toga as a support to stay on his feet. You 3 are such babies. Himiko exclaimed, making fun of them. No. You have to be crazy to enjoy something like that. Kirishima tried to defend his manliness. You have no idea, Kirishima-kun. Izuku thought about the irony of his brother's sentence. I won't get scared next time. The fiery personality of Inasa reached the top again. Marathon of horror movies, here I come. You're going to have a heart attack by the end of it. Jiro wasn't very fond of the idea. The group walked away. At the same time, Shota and Emi were leaving the cinema. That was great. The green-haired woman couldn't stop laughing. It was alright. The homeless-looking hero commented. We should do this again sometime. Emi said jokingly, knowing that probably wouldn't happen. Shirazawa's voice stopped her on her track abruptly. Eh? She looked at him like he just grew a second head. I'm free next week, he said as he pulled up in a taxi. He opened the door for her. I'll give you a call. When he turned around to see her, she was frozen in place. A big question mark appeared over Shota's head. Izuku and the others got to a point where they would take different paths to get to their homes. The day was awesome. Thanks for inviting me, Izuku, Inasa said while bouncing in place out of excitement. Yeah, thanks, bro. Ijiro agreed. By the way, since these two call you by your name, can I do the same? Izuku smiled. Do you even need to ask, Ijiro-kun? They bumped fist. I'm going to walk to Toga home. It could be dangerous for everybody else when she's around. He thought about the last part. That's just an excuse to spend more time with your girlfriend. Ijiro teased. So lovey-dovey. It's kiss time. Smooch smooch. Inasa followed along while making kissy faces in an angelical pose. You two aren't going to stop, are you? Izuku raised his voice, completely flustered. You're always so composed, so it's good to have something to mess with you. The redhead explained with a toothy grin. Well, see you around, Himiko. We should hang out again, said the tall guy. They both took their leave. See you later, Kiri-kun, Yao-kun. Toga waved her hand at them. The couple stood there in silence. Why did you come today, Toga-chan? Izuku broke the silence. A more serious semblance showed on his face. I wanted to drink your blood, she answered. That's what I expected. Izuku's serious face broke into a more relaxed one. I have a condition though. The blonde tilted her head cutely to the side, wondering what he would ask. Tell me everything about you. Her eyes widened in surprise. I want to know you better. He grabbed her hand, he won't let her escape today. A malicious grin sprouted on her face. Very well. But I have a condition too. I'll be the one who decides where I'll drink the blood from. Fine by me, he answered. She will probably take it from my neck or a place I can bleed a lot. He hadn't realized that all his predictions about her today were all wrong. Then let's go to a more private place. Toga pulled him from his arm. The dark alley, what was he expecting when she said a private place? But what unsettled him the most was the position they were in. He was sitting on the floor with his back against the wall. She was sitting on his lap looking at the only thing she could see in that darkness, his two glowing emeralds. What was the concept of personal space again? Why here? You can't even see me. He couldn't help but feel weird about all of this. But I can see your eyes. Toga exclaimed. They're so pretty, I want them for myself. You're not talking literally, right? The girl giggled at his question. Great, now he has to be on guard to protect his eyes from being ripped out. In this position, being so close, she could kill him at any moment. But then again, she's in the same position, he could capture her easily. Yet, neither of them had those thoughts in mind. Their relationship, even though it was a really weird relationship, was based on honesty with one another. They wouldn't pull such a low blow. So, you probably cannot see them, but my ears are paying you their complete attention, Izuku said, choosing to ignore what she said about his eyes. What do you want to know, Izuku-kun? She asked, tilting her head with a grin on her face. A tender smile appeared on the catboy's face, though she couldn't see it. You. Her grin grew wider. She got closer, hooking her hands behind his neck. That was why Izuku-kun was the best because, until this point, he's the only one who has tried to know her better. Not even her parents care to do it. So, she spoke about whatever she wanted, without worry to freak him out. She knew Izuku would accept her. I see, it was all that Izuku said when she finished. What's that I see? Tell me what you think. Toga got a little frustrated, it was less dramatic than she thought. No, it's better if you don't know what I'm thinking, Izuku responded, trying not to laugh at her reaction. Toga pouted. Okay. I'll tell you before you stab me or something. But before that, you have to tell me something. What? What's your quirk? She never mentioned it, so he's curious. The toothy grin spouted on her face. Then give me your blood first. I find this sounds a little weird, but from where do you want to drink it? It sounded really weird. Her eyes had adapted to the darkness, so with a predatory smile, she put her mouth next to one of his ears and whispered. Izuku's face became crimson immediately. No. I can't do that. That would be my first. Too bad because I want that, Toga responded, enjoying his fluster. But, why? It can be dangerous for you too, you know. Last time I was almost trying to make her think again about what she said. I know. That stopped him on his track. And I don't care. But You're going back on your promise? She asked with puppy eyes. Well shit. He was against a corner figuratively and literally. Okay, he gave in. The LED with a smile, she pulled out her tongue. She wasn't mocking him. She was telling him to do the same. The LED as shyly as its owner, his tongue came out. Thanks for the FOOD. With that, Toga opened her mouth and prepared her teeth. She wanted to drink blood from his tongue, which meant she would take Izuku's first. My first kiss, it's so weird. Never in his wildest dreams, he thought he would lose it like this. By the end of it, Izuku was panting profusely, trying to catch his breath. He covered his mouth trying to get a hold of himself. All of this made him a mess. He felt pain, discomfort, pleasure and lust, and adding blood to the mix didn't make it better. From here on out, what was their relationship supposed to be? Thank goodness they stopped, or else he could have become addicted to it. This was bad. He realized that this was a battle. He was fighting to take her away from this life, and she was trying to drag him down with her in her descent into madness. Hey, look at me, Izuku-kun. She interrupted his train of thoughts. However, there was something different in her voice. That voice was looking up. His eyes went wide because there, sitting on his lap with a sickening smile, was the catboy. Couldn't help but be surprised seeing his doppelganger with the crazy expressions of Toga. A new day, a new bullshit that haunts Izuku's mind. He honestly didn't want to think about the possibilities of Toga using his appearance for whatever her twisted mind could come up with. Of course, he tried to capture her after that, but she just took it as a game and fled. It was weird enough to chase himself to mess with his mind. Even if you're born with a quirk, you'll be judged by it. No, this wasn't the time to think about it. What should I do today? He just wanted to forget the mess of yesterday. Like God's revelation. His cell phone began to ring. Unknown number. It couldn't be Toga or Uwabami, he already added them. Hello? Hello, can I talk with Izuku Midoriya? The voice of a man came from the other line. Yes, he's speaking. How can I help you? This was unexpected. What would a stranger want with him? Ah, hello. My name is Riki Yatsubashi. I'm the president and CEO of the Detmerid Company. Have you heard of it? That surprised the kid. Why would someone like this person contact him personally? Yes, it's a company that makes custom items for the daily life of people with changes on their body due to their quirk. Izuku got some of their products after he got his quirk, just minor things. Ah, I see you're well informed, Midoriya-san. He sounded happy. Well, you see, we recently started producing support items for heroes. And well, after I witnessed some of your feats, I have become a fan. So, I decided to call you and after a talk with Principal Nezu, it was decided that we will take responsibility to make your hero costume. That surprised the kid. Have you already turned in the description and details of how you want your costume? No sir. I haven't. It was hard to believe all of this. It sounded a little suspicious. Splendid. Then how about you pay us a visit so we can talk about it personally? There are other proposals I'd rather not do over the phone. Yeah, it sounded suspicious. I don't mind, but can I ask you some questions, Yatsubashi-san? But of course, my boy. Ask away. How did you know I was assisting the UA? Nobody should know apart from his mother and close friends. Your concern is well-founded, but worry not, Midoriya-san. The truth is that some of your fans assisted in the entrance exam and saw you there. They posted on the web afterward. I can send you the links for you to confirm if you don't believe me. Izuku held the bridge of his nose. No, there's no need. I believe that. Honestly, being famous, even if it's just a little, can be a pain in the ass. Okay, my other question would be, can I contact UA to confirm everything you have told me? Oh. By all means, please do so. It wouldn't be good if you got scammed in something like this, Midoriya-san. It sounded sincere. Okay, so I'll do that, and if everything is in order, I'll contact you again to arrange the visit. It's that good. Of course. I'll be waiting for your call, Izuku Midoriya-san. And with that, the call ended. Checking with the UA, Nezu confirmed that everything he was told was true. And they even did a research on the company and didn't find anything out of the ordinary. In other words, all clear. Izuku arrived the next day at the branch office in Mustafa. There he was guided and treated with the most respect he had ever seen. It was honestly a little too much for him. He entered the CEO's office, being received by the man who called him the previous day. He was a tall, odd-looking, middle-aged man with a prominently long, pointed nose and intruding chin, as well as small dark eyes. He had short orange-brownish hair, set noticeably far up his forehead, a widow's peak pointing downwards in the center, and he wore it swept back around his head. He didn't have any visible eyebrows and also possessed two dark moles on the left of his forehead. The suit he was wearing completed his professional look. Nice to finally meet you in person, Midoriya-san. Riki greeted him with a smile he must have practiced his entire life. No, thanks for having me here, Yatsubashi-san. Izuku bowed in respect. Please, take a seat. Do you want something to drink? Water is fine, thanks. The catboy did as he was told. Pouring the requested liquid with some ice. The CEO put the glass over the little table in front of the kid. The man sat down ready to discuss business. Now, for what you came for. This is going to be actually a great project because this is the first time my company is going to make a hero costume. We want it to be great and fulfill all of your expectations. That's why I requested you to be here today. So, tell me all the details about it, anything that comes to your mind, even changes for the future if you have any. I'll give you the information about how it will be done and what materials would be good. We will also go around the company and show you the components of it, you can supervise it firsthand if you like it. Rukia smiled again. Now, I'm all ears. Izuku sweat dropped. That was a long explanation, but there also was something he didn't like. I'm sorry to say this, Yotsubashi-san, but I'm a little uncomfortable with someone eavesdropping. That surprised the man. Izuku turned his head towards a door that led to another smaller room. The sense of smell of a cat, it's not as great as a dog, but it's nothing to scoff at either. Also, my ears can catch sounds that humans can't. The door opened, revealing a person that was clad in a thick dark colored parka. Their eyes glowed through the shadow of their hood. It was creepy for most people, but not for Izuku due to his eyes that did the same. Overall, it was a very suspicious person. Jigen was hiding just in case something went wrong and he had to defend Re-Destro. He wasn't expecting to be found out immediately. It didn't only surprise him and the Grand Commander, but the rest of the leaders of the Metal Liberation Army that were listening through microphones hidden in the room. This was looking bad for them. The serious look on Izuku Midoriya's face told them that he was waiting for a really good explanation. Jigen, also known as Iceman, took his hood off, revealing his face. Long, pale, messy hair and light-colored eyes that were framed by a set of long eyelashes. Izuku tilted his head in visible confusion. A girl. He could swear to God that he thought it was a guy. But that didn't matter much, what was she here in the first place? Is she your daughter, sir? He asked the CEO. Actually, it's a. Yes. Jigen intervened. Somehow the misunderstanding of his gender was the best route to get out of this. Re-Destro almost fucked them up. Jigen put a sweet smile on her face. She's cute. Izuku thought while smiling back. He still wanted an answer though. However, the catboy wasn't paying attention to Rukia, who had a shocked face that had written the fuck on it. He wasn't alone in this. The other leaders of the Metal Liberation Army that were looking through the hidden cameras had the same face. Jigen wasn't the one who showed a lot of emotions, he was as cold as his Quirk, so this was a first for them. Also, the fact that he was pretending to be a girl fucked their minds pretty hard. I'm a big fan of yours. But I didn't know what to do, so I hid. Dad didn't know anything. She looked at them with apologetic eyes. I can't believe I'm fucking doing this. Jigen had decided to play the shy fan card, hoping that it worked. Rukia shook his head, ending his trance. He had to play along. He had to use something to seal the deal. Sorry for this, Midoriya-san. But after you saved her from some robbers in a grocery store, she didn't stop talking about you. Dad. Jigen raised his voice in exasperation. That was really unnecessary. It sounded as if he had fallen for this kid. Luckily, that reaction was the one that a girl had in a situation like this. Meanwhile, the leader known as Curious was the first one to break. The woman began to laugh her ass off at the whole situation. This was so unexpected, yet so funny. It was a good thing that her mic was muted. To Izuku, what the CEO said, clicked in his head. Wait, I remember some like her back then. So, it was you. Were you okay back then? Now he understood what he was called here. Rukia probably wanted to show his thanks for saving his daughter. Jigen nodded. He along with the other felt a relief that the catboy fell for it. Sorry about this. I'll leave. Now it was his opportunity to escape from this situation. If you want, you can stay though. You can give us a second opinion about my costume. Izuku intervened with a kind smile. Now knowing that there wasn't anything strange or bad, he assumed his fan would like to stay. The girl looked at them with a deadpan face. If he left now, then that would look suspicious. He also spotted Re-Destro trying to contain his laugh. The man knew what was happening through his head. You probably already know, but regardless, I'm Izuku Midoriya. The catboy introduced himself with a smile. You can call me Jigen. Is that a nickname? Izuku wondered. He had never heard a name like that before. After that, the meeting began. The hero aspirant told them his ideas for his costume. Midoriya-san. The CEO of the company interrupted. I couldn't help but notice you have not mentioned a single support item for your costume. Is there any reason? His company specialized in things like those after all. Well. The support items I want are going to be made by a friend of mine. Izuku explained with an apologetic look on his face. It's not that I don't trust the quality of your products. It's just that this is something strictly personal for ourselves. So, I won't be requesting any of them here. Sorry. Oh, no. Don't worry about it. I can understand perfectly. Rukia answered with his professional smile. Though on the inside he was cursing the heavens. The support item he could have used for this project was going to have little surprises like microphones, tracker devices or anything he could have used for his advantage, yet that could have been a big risk, taking into account how fast he spotted cheating. So, maybe it was for the better. The phone in the office rang and soon after Yotsubashi had to leave for an important matter. I wouldn't take long though. So, in the meantime, the two teens stood there by themselves. It was such an awkward silence, Izuku thought. He had to make conversation somehow. So Jitan-chan. He didn't know if he had to add an honorific to that. The girl flinched at that. What do you like to do in your free time? Oh god, that sounded like he was flirting. Dealing with new people was hard and awkward when you were alone. Especially with girls. I hope she doesn't misunderstand me. Is he hitting on me? He totally misunderstood. Either way, he had to answer or he'd be rude, but what? Training. That's all he does. He trains his meta ability, Quirk. Suddenly, a bright idea came to his head. I like to read books. Oh, I like to do that too. I go to the library a lot to find something new. Izuku felt relieved seeing that Jitan didn't take it the wrong way. What's your favorite book then? Perfect, that was the exact question that Jitan wanted. Wait here. Dad must have a copy. I'll show it to you. The girl stood up and returned shortly after, showing the cover to Izuku. Metal Liberation Army. Midoriya read it out loud. I've never seen that book before. What's it about? It'd be better if you read it yourself. The pale-haired girl answered. Let's see. Izuku sat next to Jitan without paying any mind. He was truly interested in the book. You're too close, idiot. The villain in disguise thought in annoyance. This looks interesting, Izuku concluded. I'll look for it in the library. The girl handed him the book. You can have it. Eh? No. It's from your father, isn't it? I can't take it. Izuku protested. He has too many copies of it. If one goes missing it won't make a big difference. It's my thanks for saving me. It was hard to refuse it like this. Okay thanks, but please don't get in trouble for this. He pleaded with kitten eyes. I'll read it and if we see each other on another occasion, we can talk about it. He hid the book. Oh, you two seem to get along really well. Rukia interrupted from the door. It was at that moment that Izuku noticed he was really close to the man's daughter. It's not what you think. I wasn't trying anything. He panicked with a blush on his face. He knew that father tended to be overprotective. Don't worry, Midoriya-san. So, where were we? They continued with their previous conversation. Okay, I think that everything, right? The CEO asked and the kid nodded. Well then. The other thing that I wanted to ask you was. If you wanted to appear in one of our commercials. I don't mind, but you should have to talk with my manager about that. She's the snake heroine. Uwabami. I'll put myself in contact with her, then. With that, it was time to leave. We'll be in contact, Yotsubashi-san. See you around, Jitan-chan. He left. When they were sure the catboy was gone, Destro sprouted a grin while looking at his subordinate. A girl? He asked. Females are less suspicious than males. That's how it works. He mistaking my gender was the perfect opportunity. He explained. I was even able to give him the book. Though, aren't we going too far for just some brat? The popularity of that brat keeps growing every day. At this point, he's like a mini All Might. Just imagine him in the future. If we have him on our side, all of our plans will be a piece of cake. I'd call it a future investment. Rukia explained the reason behind all of this. What do you guys think? We agree with you. The voice of the rest of the leaders echoed in the room. But by the way, I didn't know you were such a good actor, Jitan. Destro was genuinely surprised. Yeah, maybe he should appear in the commercial with Izuku Midoriya. The leader known as Trumpet commented. Cut the crap. Jitan retorted the idea immediately. Why would I? Besides, I'd have to act like a girl if he was around. I don't see the problem with that. Trumpet answered with an amused smile. I can take you to town and buy you a nice dress. Also, call me Wani-chan from now on. This time it was Curious who spoke with excitement. You can't be serious. Iceman was starting to get really annoying with all of this. I believe they are. The leader called Skeptic intervened. Well, whatever. You could use that to seduce the kid and bring him to us if something goes wrong. Fuck off. Curious can't do that. Jitan snapped. These idiots were getting too carried away. He practically carried this whole operation and this is how he gets paid. Destro, say something. That's commonly known today as a trap, right? Maybe Rukia took the role of a father too far and now it was a really awkward dad that tried to understand the phase his son was going through. Fuck y'all. I'm going back to my training. If any of you talk about this again, I'm freezing you whole. Putting his hood back on. Jitan left while flipping them off. After several days. The first day of school came. Did you pack everything, Izuku? Inko asked her son in worry. I did. He answered with a smile. He stood in front of her with a smile, wearing his new uniform. They shared a hug. Izuku, you're mega cool right now. She was really proud. That's only natural when you have a mega cool mom. See you later. Love you. He left. Izuku now stood in front of the huge door of the class 1A. Please, don't let Bakugo or Todoroki be in this class. He prayed to God and opened the door. The first thing he saw was Bakugo and the guy with glasses from the exam discussing Katsuki putting his feet on the desk. Looking at the back of the class, his eyes met with Shoto Todoroki, who frowned immediately. God has abandoned me. Izuku thought in despair. The rigid guy with glasses was the first to notice his arrival, and so, he approached the catboy. Hello, I'm Aida Tenya from Same. Yeah, I overheard it. I'm Izuku Midoriya. Izuku responded. Midoriya, I must hand to you. Tenya was going to give him a speech, but was interrupted again. Yo. Screaming like an idiot and running like one. Kirishima came to greet his brother. I can't believe we're in the same class, Izuku. They bumped fists and hooked their arms. Me too, Ijiro. Meanwhile, inside the head of a pink girl. Wait. Kirishima knows him how. When? Someone poked Izuku from behind. It's good to see you again, Midoriya-kun. Ribbit. It was none other than Tsuyu. Ah. Asui-san. You're here too. How are Samater and Satsuki doing? Izuku smiled, remembering the two little tadpoles. They want to play with you again. Also, call me Tsuyu. Her stoic face let out a tiny smile. I guess I'll have to pay them a visit then, Tsuyu-chan. He smiled back. The catboy then noticed a tall figure approaching him. He smiled when he saw who it was. Hey Yaoi Rozu. Glad I was with you and not Tokage. She would probably be overly excited right now. You can say that again. She honestly has too much energy. The tall girl smiled at him. Everyone else in the classroom was surprised at how many people knew the catboy already. A midget with purple balls for hair was bleeding through his eyes out of envy. He just came in, but he already knows two pretty girls. Damn you, Izuku Midoriya. Ah. It's you, catboy. A girl's voice came from the door behind Izuku. It was the girl he saved from the zero-pointer. You made it, just like Present Mick said. Yay, go you. By the way, that punch was out of this world. Izuku chuckled at her excitement. At the same time, Katsuki was murdering Izuku with his glare. He remembered the day when their middle school's principal congratulated them for passing the exam. He cornered Deku that day. What the fuck did you do, Deku? You didn't only pass, but you tied with me. Whose dick did you have to suck to? He was going to grab Deku's collar to scare him, but his hand was slapped away immediately. The catboy stared at him with cold eyes. I train a lot for this, and I honestly don't care if I tie with you. But listen clearly, Bakugo. If you thought that I was just a mere pebble on your path, then you better look again because I'm a whole mountain. Back to the present. That shithead really stood up to me. I'll crush you like I always did. I wonder about today's ceremony. Or is it the guidance counselor stuff today? Oh, and the teacher, what'll they be like? I'm so anxious, like wow. The brown-haired girl was so anxious that she didn't notice the people behind Midoriya looking at her. If you're gonna be hunting for buddies, do it elsewhere. A voice interrupted her. It came from behind. They're all the people that were with Izuku who saw a man in a yellow sleeping bag. He looked pretty much like a caterpillar. This is the Department of Heroics, he finished while slurping some juice. While everybody was thinking who this guy was, Izuku moved and kneeled next to him with a worried look. Teacher, are you okay? You look awful. Do you need me to take you to the infirmary? With due respect, the man looked like he could die then and there from sleep deprivation. Teacher? The rest of the students echoed, unable to believe that this man was their teacher. Izawa was silent for a moment, then looked at the catboy. What gave it away? He asked. This was the first time someone thought he was a teacher from a first glance. Only authorized personnel are allowed to enter UA, which includes the students and the staff. And well, you don't look like a student. Izuku explained. More importantly, are you okay? Ah, logic. Shota could get behind that. No, wait. He was supposed to hate this kid. Damn it. He could already hear Midnight's laughter at the back of his head. The pro hero stood up. I'm okay. And entered the classroom. He looked around. It took you a lot of 30 seconds to quiet down. He glared at Izuku. Obviously, it was because of him that I took so much. Anyway, I'm your homeroom teacher, Shota Izawa. Pleasure meeting you. A big smile sprouted on Izuku's face when he heard the name. The Eraser Hero, Eraserhead. The man was an inspiration for him to train harder. He was one of the reasons he decided to take his hellish training. The pro hero took a PE uniform from his sleeping bag and showed it to his students. Wear these. Immediately. And then shove off to the PE grounds. After changing, Izuku came out. He was one of the firsts, so he had to wait for the others. He also decided to wear the baby that protects his ears from loud sounds. If they were here then they would probably use their quirks. Well, better safe than sorry. Then his eyes met with others that belonged to a blonde guy and a thick long tail with hair on the tip. They stared at each other for a moment and then they hooked their tails. Izuku Midoriya. Mashirao Ejiro introduced themselves with a smile. Ah. What was that? A voice called their attention. They both turned their heads to find your typical floating PE uniform. Why did you two do that? It was so funny. The PE uniform talked with a feminine voice. She must have an invisible quirk. Mashirao thought. I don't know. It just popped in my head. Izuku explained while rubbing the back of his head. Same. I think it's just because we don't see other people with a tail very often. Ejiro followed. Oh, so you're like tail bros. The invisible girl exclaimed, making them laugh. I'm Tori Hagakure. She extended both of her arms. While Mashirao was hesitant to shake her hand due to not knowing if he'll do it correctly without seeing it. Izuku shook it right away. Izuku Midoriya. It's as if he could see my eyes. She was fascinated that the catboy was looking directly at where her eyes should be. Everybody else arrived and Izawa told them why they were there. The quirk apprehension test, everybody shouted. Thank goodness I'm using baby 77. Izuku was grateful for his ear protectors. What about the ceremony and the guidance counselor meeting? The brown-haired girl asked. If you want to be heroes, we don't have time for frilly niceties. Shota countered. You all understand the school's reputation of freedom on campus. Well, that goes for us teachers, too. He then explained what the test consisted of, while disagreeing with the government's reason to handle this stuff. Bakugo, you got the higher villain point on the exam. How far could you pitch a softball in middle school? 69, the ash blonde answered. Nice. A blonde guy with a black lightning-shaped streak said all of a sudden. Izuku recognized him from that time at the robbery. Shota ignored it. Try using your quirk this time. As long as you don't exit the circle, anything goes. Don't hold back. Bitsuki did just that, throwing with a die. Creating a shockwave with his explosion. Kirishima had to recognize that it was pretty manly. Shota then showed them the result. 705.2 meters. This is a rational metric that will form the basis of your hero foundation. The students began to talk with each other in excitement. This looks fun. Someone commented. Fun, you said. The atmosphere changed. So you were planning to spend your 3 years here having a good old time? What happened to becoming heroes? A chill ran down the spine of the students. Alright then. In that case, a new rule. The student who ranks last will be judged hopelessly and instantly expelled. What? That's too unreasonable. Someone protested. Natural disasters, massive accidents, ego-mad villains. All of this is unreasonable and it's our job as heroes to stop it all. This is the formation of the UA provides. This is plus ultra. First trial. 50-meter dash. Aida made it in 3.04 sec. Besting Asui, who made it in 5.58 sec with her long jumps. Kirishima made it in 5.46 sec. I can't use one for all yet. I'll just wreck myself. He had to wait for the right moment. Now it was Izuku's turn and he was placed with none other than Bakugo. They took their positions but Midoriya's stance. He was on his 4, like a beast waiting to be released. You. That's frustrating. The pink girl murmured. What's wrong, Ashido? Kirishima heard her. That Midoriya guy has a better butt than me. It was a low blow to her pride as a woman. Also, why didn't you tell me you know him? She wanted to thank him for that time with that giant. You never asked. But you want to know how he got such a great ass, right? Ashido realized where all of this was going, but it was already too late. Hey Izuku. Ashido wants to know how you got such a fantastic ass. He screamed at the top of his lungs. The pink girl covered her blushing face in embarrassment. She was going to murder this idiot. Izuku looked at them for a moment, then smiled while giving his brother a thumbs up. With my gluteus routine of exercise. He had trained his entire body after all. There. I can ask for the routine if you want. Ejiro turned to see Ashido covering her face. What's wrong? I'm gonna melt your clothes. That was so embarrassing. Even though these two didn't take it the wrong way, the rest of the classmates certainly did. I'll show you your fucking place, Deku. Katsuki thought while ignoring what just happened, but when the signal was given. 2.57 seconds. The robot in charge of taking the time said. Izuku had to use his claws to stop, leaving his mark on the ground. He has been practicing running in 4 since the exam. Well, it certainly makes him faster to the point that he could have ended in first place in the recommendation exam by miles. The consumption of stamina has also increased. He can't keep that speed for a lot of time, even though he's now a stamina monster. Tenyu wasn't surprised by this result. He witnessed firsthand the entrance exam. Itsuki, on the other hand, was in shock. When did this shitty nerd become like this? He didn't care that his time was 4.13 seconds. He was utterly defeated. Deku's words came to his mind again. I'm a whole mountain. Trial 2. Grip strength test. There, a guy with 6 arms got a mark of 540 kilograms, impressing everyone. Though the first place took it Momo by creating a grip machine and setting it to the maximum. Izuku looked at his hand and sighed in preparation. This was going to hurt. He gripped, piercing his own palm with his claws and drawing blood. 356 kilograms. He took 3rd place. When Izawa saw his palm, he frowned. A hero that hurts himself is not very trustworthy. You know that, right? Thanks to that comment, everyone noticed his bleeding hand. I still can keep going. Besides, this is more of an advantage against a villain. Izuku responded without skipping a beat. How? Shota asked, not finding his reasoning. Swinging his arm, Izuku splatters his blood across the wall. Unsettling everybody. Imagine those are the villain's eyes. He will be blinded for a few seconds, and that's all I need to take them down. Using your own blood as a weapon, this kid sees advantages where others can't. Eraser thought. He had to give credit to the kid. I never said to show me. You're cleaning that. He moved on. Shit. Izuku didn't think this through. Give me your hand, Yaoi Rozu told him as she created a gauze from her palm. The catboy did as he was told. As reckless as always, I see. In my defense, we're talking about expulsion here. You don't need to hurt yourself to pass. She pouted. Yeah, Izuku looked a little depressed. It doesn't matter anyway. Momo noticed that. Midoriya, you know that Izawa-sensei can't be serious. Quit chit-chatting. Speaking of the devil, Shota interrupted them and hurried them up for the next trial. Stop flirting with each other. The purple midget was burning with jealousy. Trial 3. Standing long jump. Nothing difficult, Izuku was able to clear the sandbox easily with his jump. Trial 4. Sustained sideways jumps. Midoriya's flexibility proved to be a great advantage, giving him 2nd place behind the little guy with purple balls on his head. His quirk was proving to be one of the more versatile along with Yaoi Rozu. Trial 5. The pitch. The brown-haired girl got an infinity, earning the highest score. It was now time for Ejiro Kirishima. Okay, this is it. It's now or never. He used one for all and hardened his arm and threw. 66 meters. What happened to my quirk? Ejiro was super confused. Izawa-sensei erased it with his own, Izuku said. By the way, how does your hair float, Eraserhead-sensei? The students chatted with each other about the underground hero. So he already knew who I was, Eraser's head thought. But he chose to ignore it. Izawa began to scold Ejiro about his quirk. But why would he erase his quirk? The pink girl thought in confusion. Nobody is in a position to come to your aid. Izawa finished. I gave back your quirk. Try the pitch a 2nd time. Kirishima was left there sulking. What should I do then? I shouldn't use one for all then. Izuku smiled tenderly. Of course it would be hard to use a quirk, you haven't used that much. The greenhead left the crowd and walked to his brother. There, he whispered something into the retreat's ear. Oh. Ejiro yelled in excitement as Izuku retreated. What did you do? Shota questioned with a frown. You never said we couldn't help each other, Midoriya answered with a smug smile. It was a technicality of the rules, but it was true. Also, I will always be there to aid anyone in need, even heroes. The smile disappeared. Izuku was now defying his teacher's words. Because that's what heroes do, don't they? A sinister grin appeared on Eraser's face. This was a challenge. Anyway, Kirishima threw the ball again. This time using only his finger to channel his quirks. It created a shock wave. 705.3 meters of pure manliness. What the fuck? The pink girl screamed. How did he get so powerful? You're right. Izuku inquired. Yes. She could barely look at him in the face. Ejiro's hardening quirk also enhanced his strength. We discovered this when we were training for the entrance exam. It's still too much power for his body to handle, though. The catboy had already the perfect excuse if something like this ever happened. I see she was surprised by how much they knew about each other. After other people had their turn. It was now Midoriya's. Okay, what should I do? I know. You can yell a magical word that will give you more power in your throw. Nico intervened. Didn't know something like that existed. Okay, what's the word? Izuku asked his partner. You'll have to say it with me at the same time or it doesn't work. Going along with it, Izuku took his position. Jumped and spun in the air to gain inertia in his throw. Then released the ball while yelling. Yeet. His face morphed into one of utter despair as he realized that his companion backstabbed him. Almost all the students began to laugh. He freaking yote that shit. Someone commented. Dude, why didn't I think that? Izawa ignored their laughter and showed his score. 420.6 meters. No. The blonde guy with the lightning streak screamed in despair. We were on the verge of greatness. We were this close. If that could show another number, I bet it'd be a 9. It would have been 420.69. The ultimate nice. The guy sure was dedicated to his memes. They continued with the rest of the trials. Izuku managed to stay in the top 3 spots for them. Now it was time for the results. 1 Momo Yaoi Rozu 11 Ichaku Uraraka. 2 Izuku Midoriya 12 Koji Kota. 3 Shoto Todoroki 13 Rikido Sato. 4 Katsuki Bakugu 14 Tsuyu Asui. 5 Tenyu Iida 15 Yuga Aoyama. 6 Fumikage Tokoyami 16 Hantasiro. 7 Mizo Shoji 17 Denki Kaminari. 8 Ijiro Kirishima 18 Kyo Kajiro. 9 Mashirao Jiro 19 Toru Hagakure. 10 Mina Ishido 20 Minoru Mineta. Todoroki frowned, seeing that Midoriya surpassed him. It was clear that the catboy had gotten stronger since the recommendation exam. He wasn't the only one. How the fuck is Deku higher than me? Explain this, shitrag. Bakugo launched at Izuku, but just before he could touch him, the ash blonde was caught by Aizawa. Izuku wasn't even faced with this. The fuck is this cloth? It's my capturing weapon, a steel wire alloy woven with carbon nanofibers, Shota explained, while his quirk was activated. Don't make me use my quirk so much. It gives me a dry eye, damn it. He released the volatile teen. And looked at his students. Now, about the expulsion, everybody looked at the trembling midget that got last place. It was. Excuse me, Izuku stepped forward, interrupting the teacher. If you have to expel someone, you can expel me instead of Mineta. Nobody could believe what came out of his mouth. That was when Yaoi Rozu realized why he was depressed before. He was going to take the expulsion regardless of who ended last. Did he seriously not notice that it was just a ruse? Midoriya. Aizawa-sensei was just. Shota shut her up by holding his hand up. And why would you do that? The teacher asked with inquisitive eyes. Because I know how getting your dreams crushed feels. He had a painful smile. I wouldn't wish it on anybody. And it's because I already know that waiting another year it's not that big of a deal. If I expel you, you won't be able to apply to the UA ever again. You know that. Aizawa pressed further. He knew the body language of a cat, and the one that Izuku was showing clearly told him that the kid didn't want to do this. That's fine. I'll become a hero somewhere else. He won't be backing away anytime soon. The midget, now known as Mineta, ran towards Izuku with tears in his eyes. He grabbed Izuku's pants like a child would grab his father's. You're a great man, Midoriya. The manliest, Ijiro thought. The catboy just smiled at the little guy and patted his head. Aizawa let out a tiresome sigh. This is great and all. But you'll do better by letting people finish what they were going to say. Like I was saying, the whole expulsion thing was a lie. Everyone's brain did short circuit at that. It was a logical ruse to pull out your best performance. What? Everybody screamed. Izuku's legs faltered, so he fell on his butt while letting out a sigh he didn't know he was holding. Mineta still held on to him, he won't forget this. How didn't you notice it, Midoriya? Momo commented, though she was a little worried back there. You liar, Izuku managed to say. Sorry, kid. But you didn't let me finish. I'm not talking about that. You lied about the expulsion being a lie. If somebody had shown no potential, you would have expelled that person regardless of their ranking. Izuku knew when somebody was talking seriously. And Aizawa was back then. I don't know what you're talking about. Shota averted his gaze while approaching the catboy and patted his head unconsciously. Besides, even if I were to expel everyone, you're the only one I'm not allowed to. He murmured that last part, however, Izuku could hear him perfectly. Izuku leaned on the teacher's hand. That was when Aizawa noticed what he had done and took his hand away like if the catboy's head was on fire. He looked around in worry that someone saw him. That's all for today. The class is dismissed. Kirishima and Midoriya go to the infirmary. Shota walked away hurriedly, embarrassed that he let his guard down. Thankfully, no one saw it. Unknown to Eraserhead. In the window of the 3rd floor, Present Mick and Midnight were laughing their asses off. They had seen everything. Shota was really weak to cats. All Might saw it too from a corner of the building, but he ran away before Aizawa saw him. The first day of school was over. Man, today was intense. And it was just the first day. Kirishima commented. You can say that again. Izuku was more mentally tired than physically. Then, someone grabbed them by the shoulder. Are you too healed? It was Aida. Ah, yes, recovery girl did a great job, Izuku answered. Tenya then looked at Kirishima. I think we haven't introduced each other. While they were at it, Momo passed next to them. See you tomorrow, everyone. She walked directly to her limo. Tomorrow, Yaoi Rozu. The catboy responded. The other two did the same. Midoriya. Asui passed him while nodding. Tsuyu. He did the same. Bye-bye. Midoriya. Toru exclaimed while waving her arms profusely to be seen. Bye. He waved his hand back and at the same time, he bumped his tail against Tajiro's, which was passing behind him. Izuku, you're the popular kid, Miko said in his head. What? Don't be ridiculous, oh god, I'm the popular kid. While Izuku was dealing with a new situation in his life, someone popped up behind Kirishima. Are you going to introduce me? It was a smiling Ishido. Ah, right. Guys, she's Mina Ishido. We went to the same middle school. Pleasure to meet you. I'm Tenya Aida. Aida introduced himself while karate chopping the air. Izuku Midoriya do you still want my gluteus routine? Mina blushed a little. No, that was just this idiot talking without thinking. She climbed Kirishima's back and began to choke him. I give up, the retard said, trying to take her down. You didn't even tell me about your quirk being so powerful, nor told me that you knew Midoriya. She poked his forehead in exasperation. Know me? Izuku didn't know what she meant by that. Yeah, I wanted to say thanks about that time when you saved me and my classmates. Mina clarified. It was then that Midoriya recognized her. Oh. You're that girl from that time with Gigantomachia. Giganto what? Forget about that. You and those girls are okay and that's all that matters. He smiled genuinely. Hey everyone. All of you headed towards the station. Wait for me. The new person coming at them was Infinity Girl. Everyone except Izuku said. Isn't it a little bit rude then again plain when trying to give me her points? I'm Ichako Uraraka. She introduced herself. And you are Tenya Aida, Ijiro Kirishima, Mina Ishido and Deku Midoriya. Deku? The quartet echoed while looking at each other in confusion. That Bakugo guy called you Deku, Uraraka spoke. Kirishima confirmed this while looking at Izuku for an explanation. Ah, he calls me that to demean me. I'm Izuku Midoriya. So is an insult, Tenya muttered while Mina frowned. That isn't manly. Ijiro thought. For real sorry. Ichako apologized awkwardly. But you know, I kinda like the name Deku for you. It gives me a you can do it vibe. She had a pure smile on her face. If you think that way. Then you can call me Deku. Izuku smiles back. Then I call you Acha-chan, just kidding. There was an awkward silence after that. That sounds cute. Ichako declared with a determined look. Eh? And no. I seriously was just kidding. Izuku blushed a little. It was already embarrassing enough. He didn't want to call her that for real. But it sounds cute. Uraraka exclaimed again with her fist clenched. That isn't really an argument. Cute. She said again, ready to fight for the nickname. Oh okay you win no Acha-chan. God, it was so embarrassing to say that. The brown-haired girl smiled, pleased with her victory. You guys can call me Deku if you want to. Midoriya is fine by me. Tenya adjusted his glasses. I'm fine too, bro. Kirishima gave him a thumbs up. Then, Midori. Mina exclaimed with her hand raised and a grin on her face. Izuku just nodded. He refrained from talking this time and made another embarrassing nickname for Ishido as well. We should get going then. To the station. To the station. Mineta yelled next to Izuku. The little midget had appeared out of nowhere. What are you doing here? Ishido questioned the purple dwarf. After today I have decided to follow Midoriya wherever he goes, Minoru said with a grin. And if I follow him around, maybe I'd have a chance with the girls too. He thought about his master plan. Thus don't follow me to the bathroom, Izuku said jokingly. First day, he already had a big group of new friends. This wasn't so bad. Then his cell phone rang. Hello, ah yes, with each word, he appeared with less and less energy. Got it, leave it to me, sir. Hanging off, he let out a tiresome sigh. Something wrong, Deku-kun? Uraraka asked with concern. You guys should go to the station without me. I forgot something back at UA, or rather, I forgot someone. We can wait for you. You're our classmate. It would be a disgrace if we didn't do at least that. Aida said while chopping the air with enthusiasm. Nah, this is going to take a lot of time. See you all tomorrow. The catboy walked away in the direction of his academia. Everyone looked at Mineta. Aren't you going to follow him? Mina asked with a deadpan face. He said that he didn't want it anyway, girls. This was his chance to brag about himself and get a chance with the females. In the UA at the support course workshop. Hey, you've been here for a lot of time. Go home now, girl. Power Loader scolded one of his students. I can still keep going. Hatsune answered without paying him much attention and continued with her work. No, you can't. We're going home. The door of the workshop opened, revealing a slightly pissed Izuku. Ugme sweat dropped at that, flinching in the process. The pro hero was surprised that someone could get that reaction from her so easily. Until now, she had barely listened to him. But I'm in the process of making a super cute baby. She protested. May, your father called me and told me you have been here for 3 days. No excuses, we're going home. How did she manage to start working here before classes even started was beyond him. At least let me finish it. This is my last baby, I promise. She panicked, surprising the power loader once again. Sai, how long is it going to take? Izuku asked in resignation. 2 hours. Do you need help? Maybe he was interrupted. Don't need it. I have this. She didn't leave space to argue. She had even rejected power loader's help. Okay, I'll be back in 2 hours. Izuku left the room. What are you making that it's so important anyway? The pro asked. This support gear, May answered with a little smile. So that's why she didn't want him to be here. That guy must be important for her Higari Majima, though if it was for the sake of others then he didn't mind. Okay. Let's give it all LL. May exclaimed as she resumed her work with all the energy she had left. Wait. That's… Boom. Izuku heard an explosion coming from the workshop. Sai, let's make the 3 hours then. Izuku was now roaming the empty corridors of UA. What should I do in the meantime? Then he crossed paths with Present Mick, who smiled widely when he saw the boy. The door of the teacher's room was slammed open. Aizawa, who was in his sleeping bag, saw Izuku Midoriya with a determined face. Izuku and Shota were now at the PE grounds along with a huge basket with a ton of softballs in it. The boy was also wearing his PE uniform as well. Why are you doing this again? Eraser asked. He wanted to get back and sleep a little more. Honestly, he was just doing this because of his bet with Nezu. Because I felt I could have done better. But I don't know how. So, the only thing I can do is practice. Midoriya explained. Whatever. Here Shota handed him the meter counter. I'll be back in the teacher's room. He walked away. Thanks, sensei. With that, he tried different throws. 45 minutes later. Izuku was back in the teacher's room. I have another request. He said to Aizawa. Though this time around, Midnight was on the room. After hearing him out, Shota rubbed his face in exasperation. Although there might be a way out. I'll have to ask Principal Nezu about that. With enough luck, the little rodent would say no. I'm okay with that. Go for it. Said rodent was sitting next to them enjoying some tea. He scared the shit out of the two. Great. Eraser thought. The little rat always did this to him. By the way, Kayama, can you not? This whole time, Izuku was sitting on the pro heroine's lap while she just pampered him a lot. It's okay, right? We're not interrupting anything. Besides, he needs a reward for working so hard. The catboy, on the other hand, was too paralyzed to move. His red face said everything. Now, Aizawa was at ground beta with a chronometer in his hand. He stopped it when the 15-minute mark appeared. Shota took a megaphone and yelled. Time's up. With that, he went to find the annoying problem child. Izuku was in the center of the city, sweating and panting profusely. When the teacher found him, he should have been surprised. But he was just more annoyed at the prospect of doing extra work. Why should he have been surprised? Because Izuku was on top of a huge pile of destroyed robots. There were 1, 2 and 3 pointers, there were even 2 0-pointers there. 142 points, Shota said while showing him the counter with the points. Thanks, sensei. Izuku was grateful. He wanted to see how he would have done in the entrance exam regarding villain points. We're done here. Eraser had turned around to leave. Actually, I was hoping to spar with you, sensei. Izuku stopped him right there. Aizawa looked at him with an annoyed face. Okay, who told you about it? Present Mick told me about the bet, sir. That idiot is going to pay after this. Sorry, I know I'm imposing too much. But this is an opportunity I can't let pass. The greenhead apologized sincerely. Whatever. Follow me then. 15 minutes of spar later. Izuku laid on the ground with his body hurting all over. Not bad. But it definitely needs to improve. At least he didn't make the same mistake twice. Aizawa commented in his head. He had analyzed the kid's movement. It was obvious he had some experience fighting other people before. One last time Izuku managed to say while barely getting on his feet. Not happening, kid. You're at your limit. The teacher declined. Can you remind me what plus ultra means? Shota clicked his tongue. This problem child had a way with words. Let's end this quickly. Just when those words came out of his mind, Izuku appeared behind him and threw a punch. It almost caught him by surprise. Yet the teacher was able to catch it and answered with a kick, forcing the kid to retreat. Aizawa was already pretty tired, so he wasn't letting him escape. He threw his capturing weapon at the kid. Midoriya had said that he could use it, so he may as well take the opportunity. He caught the catboy's right arm. Got you. Izuku stole his words, surprising the pro hero. He then pulled the capturing weapon. He was a lot stronger than his teacher, so it was easy to pull the adult's body towards him. It was hard. Izuku had lost countless times because of this capturing weapon. But he finally was able to use it against Aizawa. He flexed his arm ready to give the final blow. Shota dodged it and threw an uppercut, hitting him on his stomach and lifting his body from the ground. Izuku felt on the ground, inert. Shit. Went too far. Eraser cursed in his head. Hey, Midoriya. Are you okay? Ouch, you took it seriously this time. Izuku smiled while holding his stomach. You were going for that. This kid was exasperating. I'll take you to the infirmary. Nah, don't worry. I still got an hour to keep training. He turned around to face up. You can go now. If something comes to my mind and I need your help, I'll let you know. So you do you, I guess. Taking his words, Aizawa decided to leave. In terms of fighting, he's already superior to most of the class. He went about with his thoughts. Ah, right. I'm counting on you for tomorrow as well. Those words almost made the teacher tumble. Tomorrow? Eraserhead had a worried look. Yeah, I'm going to do this every day after class from now on. What? Did he hear wrong? Did he say it every day? Well, the class schedule is not enough for me after all, Izuku said with a laugh. Why? Now the kid had his attention. Well, I guess he should already know at least that part, right? Izuku rationalized in his head. Are you aware of All Might's condition? So you know his true form and time limit? Shota said, a little surprised. I know more than that. Of course. Aizawa shouldn't know about One for All, just the time limit, probably the rest of the staff as well. Have you ever wondered how strong was the villain to inflict such a wound on him? What if someone that powerful appears in the future when All Might is gone? His eyes became serious as he looked at the teacher in the face. You're not that naive to think he's going to be around forever, right? Shota stood quiet. I want to be ready for when that time comes. And the schedule's not enough. So I better use this opportunity while the pillar of society is still holding it. In summary. Plus Ultra is still not enough. This kid was terrifying because that wasn't the thought process of a kid at all. If you continue like that, you're going to break. Aizawa warned him. I trust everyone around me to stop me before that happens. Including you, sensei. He said with a silly smile. So I don't give more work than necessary. With that Aizawa left. If he's going to do this every day, then he's going to get ahead of everyone in the class. Well, that's not my problem. They're the ones who should be as proactive as this guy. Ah. I know. Izuku shouted. I'm going to kill this kid. He wasn't out yet for God's sake. What? What if we make this into a club? What? Aizawa wasn't following. We do this training after class in a club. It would be named the Hero Training Club. And everyone, even people from the Department of General Education, can enter and have a taste of the hero course. And they could become heroes in the future too if they want to. It would be an extracurricular activity for everyone, and those who lost their opportunity can have it here. Izuku was thrilled with the idea. What did I just say about the extra work? Aizawa not as much. He rubbed his hair hysterically. Ah, fine. I'll talk to Nezu about it. But it's going to take some days. Got it? Yes. The catboy shouted in victory with his arms up. Thank you so much, Aizawa-sensei. Eraserhead finally left. But then I realized something. Oh god, this is only his first day. He now lamented the words he said at the Quirk apprehension test. Thanks for watching my video, and make sure to check out the author of this fanfic, link is in the description. See you next time, till then sayonara.